Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism back with another live video for you. Today, TGIF, it is Friday. It's time for the Friday Lounge. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Should be another fun show. No real topics here. We're just going to kind of mow through some stuff and have a little chat. So thank you for joining us. We do have a few guests joining me. I don't think we have Bob. I don't think we have Iru yet. Who knows if they will jump on, but they're not here yet. We do have Rodrigo Ferrari Nunes. Doctor, how are you?
Hello, how's it going, Iru? Sorry, Jaron. We're missing Iru, of course.
¿Cómo estás, Doctor?
And he should be in Madrid getting ready for the conference tomorrow, so right. I think he will be very busy. Hopefully he will have time to jump in and say something. So let's give us an update.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And then the other thing I was expecting, and I'm not sure if we're going to get anybody, but the offer is open to anybody out there doing the tests at the salt flats. I know that they started yesterday. I've seen some reports back that they've gotten some laser flashes. Not sure if they got mirror flashes from 35 miles, but they were getting lasers. So I did ask Wendell if he wanted to jump on and join us. He can, so he's part of the call. So Wendell, if you're out there, if anybody's listening or out there at the salt flats and want to tell Wendell, he's free to jump on if he wants to give us an update. If not, I'm sure we'll get an update when all their testing is done. They've still got today, tomorrow, and Sunday going, and they'll be at Bear Lake and doing some experiments there with Taboo Conspiracy. So everybody is, a lot of people are there doing that observation. So we're here. We're going to man the home base. And we also have joining us Austin from Globebusters and also his channel, Wits It Gets It. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you? Glad to be here.
Good. Yeah, happy you're here. And I noticed that you finally got your live streaming privileges. So that's awesome to see. I love the title of your episode, Unplugged from the Box, Episode 1. That's a cool little moniker. When did you come up with that? How did you come up with that? I like it.
Well, I found myself constantly saying Unplugged from the Matrix, and I was getting a lot of kickback from it. And I actually have never seen the Matrix movie, so I felt it was a little disingenuous, and I've kind of breezed through the first one. So I just changed it to box, just a metaphorical box we're all plugged into, like the consensus stage. And then I did my little not so great artwork for it, but yeah, I think it's a cool premise, man.
No, it's okay. Yeah, the artwork is always. I just use for my this what you see on the screen here. This is all just done with this little paint program. Here, I know people can't see what I'm doing, but you're just able to draw whatever images. Whoops, that's coloring. But I can draw whatever on here, and then at the same time, they've got a text function, so you can go text, and you can either add shadowing or whatever, and you just type in the text, change the color. So I can kind of make thumbnails like this, or you can just plug in an image and then put some text behind it. And that's basically what I do. So that's it's an easy way to do it. It's a free program. I'm all about free programs. So, yeah, people didn't get to see that. But that's kind of how I do that kind of stuff. So if you ever have any questions, Austin, for sure, on live streaming, although, a little bit before the show I heard you do Streamlabs OBS, which I've never downloaded. I heard it's better or has some better functionality than OBS, but you know how it is when you use something for a long enough time, it kind of becomes your baby. You're like, you don't want to leave it. So this is the one I've been using since I've been doing live streams. So it's just kind of easy. I'm able to pull up different things from over here, whatever it is. So if we want to throw that in there, then I can just transition to a scene and add that. If I want to show Google Earth, I just click Google Earth here, transition that, and now I can use Google Earth here, and whatever I do shows up on the live stream. So that's kind of how I do it. And then I've got some, if I have a YouTube video, so say for instance, we want to show, let's go to this one. I think was it you who sent this, Rodrigo, this cartoon for the day? Is this today's?
Right.
Oh boy, what a joke.
Goodness, yeah.
So if I want to show that to people, then I just click YouTube here, and then it's already, programmed to show that particular video. So now what is this? This is the way that they watch for wobble to tell us that there's other planets orbiting other stars, correct? Oh boy, it is too funny.
Yeah, I don't know if it's our sun or it's some wobble in another star. I guess it's just wobble in the other star, supposedly, and how it shows up in frequency, apparently. But, the story they tell is that the supposed planet goes in front of this star, and that causes a dimming.
Right.
So here they have some sort of other story, and apparently the planet's also having some sort of pull on the sun itself, its sun, supposedly.
It's just so ridiculous to me. I cannot stop with the stupid distances that they've convinced people that we can see and that we can test and that we can observe, and it's just nonsense.
But they don't show you anything that's actually an observation of any natural phenomena. They show you things like this.
Cartoon, yeah. And then you can look up in the sky and make a program that tells you when the little star dims. But I mean, imagine all the atmosphere that is traveling through to get to your eye. It's just so stupid. It really is stupid. And I don't even understand how you could look off into space. I mean, wouldn't it be just star on top of star on top of star? If really there's a sextillion amount of stars, which is what they tell us, and you were looking out into space and you had some sort of telescope that could see all of them, wouldn't it just be a star behind a star behind a star behind a star? Would they all have these unique positions that you could actually test and look for exoplanets? I certainly don't think so, but that's just me. So anyway, that's
have you seen recently they posted the legacy of the Spitzer telescope, and that is the infrared world that it revealed. Have you seen that? It's like the
and it's just nothing but CGI.
It's all just CGI.
Yeah,
but then they kind of show another. They show a galaxy, and then they do some sort of processing on it, and then they say that that's the infrared, and it reveals all this other stuff, and it's all about how gases are with gravity coming together to form stars and baby stars and whatnot.
Yeah, I thought that I had it queued up, but I guess I don't. But yeah, no, I saw that video and it's just terrible. It was a whole 2 hours of them doing nothing but talking and then showing CGI.
And it's all super scripted as well.
Oh yeah, totally, without a doubt.
Like the whole thing is totally scripted, totally disingenuous. It's like nobody can speak out of their own minds. They're always reading off a teleprompter. The whole thing, even their ISS stuff. Like recently, some of their communications, they had the astronaut graduation ceremony. I'm not sure you've seen this. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah,
and they had the astronauts from the ISS calling in, and it was just so scripted. They were just reading off the teleprompter and just locked into place on their cables. So and I heard from, I think it was Rob Armstrong from The Bloody Truth,
right,
sent me a video saying that the recent spacewalk that they had, which has been posted, had lots of mistakes and lots of problems. So obvious gravity, and also another video that I sent to everyone was Werner von Braun. There's a couple. No, one was about the shuttle. They sent in. I tagged David on it, and that one has particles inside the shuttle moving. Like really, it's very strange, really fast. They obviously aren't falling on a plane, so it's crazy.
Yeah, pretty crazy. No, well, that's what happens when you talk about the scripted nature. Is all these guys have read the same books, they have the same story, and I don't know. I keep mentioning things that I saw Ken Wheeler say recently, but maybe I have that video. Do I have that? Let me see here. Yeah, I think I do. Let me show you this. But it's just funny to hear him say this because it's what we've been saying for a long time. Here's Ken Wheeler.
Explanations are paramount. And by the way, it's okay not to know the answers to things, but the stupidity, specifically the ignorance or agnosis, comes into the point in which you have a person with a degree, or that is highly educated, yet a moron. And this is a huge difference between empirical knowledge, i.e. episteme, and gnosis, is that intelligent people who think they know the answers to things do not ever go looking. This is so important. You need to remember this. This is so effing important, and you weren't taught this crap in school. Intelligent people that think they know the answers to things have never gone looking for the answers to things that they already think they know the answer to. And this, of course...
how brilliant is just that statement? And it's so true. Intelligent people that think they know the answers to things will never go looking for the answers to things that they already know the answer to. And it's just so, when you've given these guys astrophysics books, when you've given them degrees, when you've given them PhDs, they're just not going to go looking for the answers to things they already think they know the answer to. I mean, that's one of the great things about anthropology that I like, is that you guys are always searching for new ideas, new answers, new insights. How did people's thoughts come to be? How did they grow to where they are? It's a constantly changing field, not like astrophysics where it's, been set up for you. This is the way it is. This is what we see in the sky. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. Anthropology has kind of like reinvented itself in its own way several times. There's several transformations, as you say. It has done that, even though now there's a lot of funding that goes for pretty, things that are political, social problems that come from big agencies, because everybody's struggling for funding, and that puts a strain on the scholarship, to look into actual questions that are important in the history of the discipline and so on, instead of just small problems that are coming up from the government and so on, because of the funding that's put out there.
Do you think
for instance, you see a lot of transhuman funding. Sorry, you're saying?
No, I was just going to say, do you think that's why there's so much junk, if you want to call it junk science, in astrophysics and stuff like that, is because in order to make a name for yourself, you do need to come up with something new, but you have to base it on the accepted lines of thought. And so I think a very good way of thinking about this and understanding it, how it works in some fields, because as you pointed out, anthropology is kind of different, but anthropology also contains within it this physical anthropology, which is the human evolution side of things, which is not social and cultural anthropology. So these things are slightly different, but we understand their stuff. They're more contained within their field. And we kind of analyze the history of their field as well, like as social cultural anthropologists. We can look into scientists and look at how they are transforming, their experiments and reducing them through these lenses and so on, and critique them. And we look into the history of colonialism and so on. But then we which is the whole deception of history, right? Right.
The fake history. The perspective of others. Peoples, how was it for them, the coming of Columbus and so on, so and it gets pretty heavy from there, because it goes into these layers that a lot of people are unaware of. But in these other disciplines, as you're pointing out, astrophysics and a lot of even archaeology, and because you don't have if you're not looking at Roman stuff, where you see a lot of what they're saying in Greek stuff, and even though there could be deceptions about manuscripts and so on, you have the sites, and there's a connection between the sites, the iconography, the art, and the literature, and so on, and it forms kind of a more cohesive kind of picture. Then when you start going into deep past and fossils and so on, there's a lot of speculation. In geology, there's a lot of speculation. Then theory starts taking a stronger sort of surpassing over, becoming more important than experiments somehow throughout the 20th century, which is like a trend we see. And I think the way to understand is, which I think is easy to explain, is that as almost like a video game or a game or a board game, because you need to understand its rules. Most of it's fake, it's made up. There's a lot of theories, there's a lot of made up stuff. There's people who are grandstanding, who's trying to make a big statement, trying to come up with a new theory, to name it after themselves, or the new creature, the new fossil. There's a lot of ego involved, and therefore there's a lot of fraud involved. And so it's a game, and some people learn how to play that game, how to do politics, who to please to get the position, to get the money, and it is just that for most of the part. And then there's some truth in it, some things but there's a lot of political infighting and so on. But when you go into astrophysics, then the whole thing becomes just math and theory,
right? And
then a lot of claims about science, especially when it comes to space mythology, and there's a whole other thing it's really deeply connected with science fiction, and the way you know it, and they tell you, which is pretty incredible. Just that film with Werner von Braun in 1969 explaining the trip to the moon himself in that video, talking about Jules Verne
Right.
All the time. That's all he talks about. He quotes Jules Verne. That's it. It's his grounding. That's the science. It's Jules Verne. Right. And he even says that the size of the capsules is the shape or whatever is almost the same and is only a bit heavier.
Oh, they send 3 people. There's so many things in that book that ended up being exactly right. Even they would send it from Florida, that they would, everything in there just came to be true. And if people believe that, well, I got a bridge to sell you.
Did you see the super chats? Dan Morris and just...
Oh, thank you very much. I didn't even see. And we are going to be looking at the chat in a little bit later, too, if you guys want to talk to us if we run out of things to talk about. So thank you, Mark W. Dan Morris said, to please discuss the anomaly that exists with sunrise-sunset time near Australia. You have touched on this before. I'd like to hear whatever you could share about this so I can self-research. Yeah, well, and I asked some people, and I probably have to go down there and do this myself, but one of the things, and we'll talk about that in a second, actually. We've got Andrew SSD says, I recently saw a video of a weather balloon without a fisheye lens. My question is, why did the horizon line remain in the middle of frame or eye level even at 90,000 feet or higher? Well, yeah, I mean, we all have that same question, don't we? I think that's very telling. Let me finish up with the rest of this little portion here.
Part of their hubris, a word everybody should know, by the way. Hubris. Hubris. Repeat after me. The word hubris. Let's spell out hubris. D-U-M-B-A-S-S. Hubris. You don't go looking for the answers to things you think you already know the answer to. This is called academic hubris. I got a degree, I know. On it, they said, here, we have certified you that you believe in the same crap that we do because we were taught the same crap and we got a PhD on the wall there. We have certified that you believe in the same silly BS that we believe in. Here's your degree.
So funny, but I think it's so true. And I'm wondering, when you look back, and I know Austin's done a lot of research into this and stuff, but I mean, some of the greatest inventions, or most of the greatest inventions, seem to come from the uneducated, or at least those who dropped out of formal education. Saw problems with it and then went on their own, and this is where we find all these great discoveries, great inventions, great leaps of knowledge, or technology, if you will. And then everybody stuck in the educational box, seems to play off of each other. And if there's errors at the beginning, early errors, I think that this causes a lot of problems. And David Weiss messaged me this morning, and I just thought it was interesting. He messaged me talking about, he says, what's that quote about Edwin Hubble, or that, the absolute horrors of a unique position? And, I told him, I got a whole webpage on my site about it, basically called Edwin Hubble and the Lie That Keeps on Lying. People can find that. Actually, if you just search jeranism and Edwin Hubble, I think it's the first result that comes up. But when you go through these quotes, and let me make sure people are saying, this just says so much, and we've talked about it a million times, but this is kind of the problem that you have when you've built this world and you need to have everything fit inside the box that you've built. And even though things don't fit and they don't work by observations, so I'll talk about it here a little bit, but it's, he was an American astronomer. He changed our understanding of the universe by postulating the existence of other galaxies besides the Milky Way. He discovered the degree of redshift observed in light coming from a galaxy increased in proportion to the distance that the galaxy would be. This became known as Hubble's law and established that the known universe is expanding. So again, he just kind of came up with that, looked out there, said, okay, things are expanding. This came, however, at a cost that one will surely come back to haunt not only him, but the entire science of astronomy. And this is what I truly believe, that this is kind of the beginning of the end for them. And it happened well before this as well, but this was so paramount. Here are some quotes by Edwin that you might find interesting, and I put all emphasis is mine, so any bold, any red is, of course, me adding to it. But, he tells us that such a condition would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, analogous in a sense to an ancient conception of a central Earth. So he's saying, based on what we're seeing, based on what we're observing, this would tell us that we live in a unique position, it's the same as a central Earth. It says this hypothesis cannot be disproved. So the idea that the Earth is at the center cannot be disproved, but it is unwelcome and would be accepted only as a last resort in order to save the phenomenon. Then he says, therefore we disregard this possibility, and we consider the alternative, namely a distribution which thins out with distance. So then he kind of makes this thing up on his own. And to get to that point, this is where you get the whole idea of the balloon. right? Because if everything's expanding from where you're looking, you look in any direction, things are flying away from you, that does tell you that you're in the center. Unless, and of course this is all just mind games, when somebody come up with the idea and said, well, wait a second, if a balloon is being blown up,
balloon universe,
right? As long as you could put a bunch of dots on a balloon, and when you blow up that balloon, all the dots get further away from each other. And this is like the only answer they had. So rather than say, okay, now we've got two ideas, they just went with one, right? They just gave up on the other one, said, well, we can't be in the center. Why? Because we would only accept it as a last resort. So he says a thinning out would readily be explained in either of two ways. So now he's trying to explain the idea that he just said, right? This whole thinning out. He says we could do space absorption. If the nebula seen through a tenuous haze, they would fade away faster than can be accounted for by distance and redshift alone. And even if it were uniform, it would appear to thin out. So that's his first one. The second one is that a super system of nebulae isolated in a larger world with our own nebula somewhere near the center. In this case, the real distribution would thin out after all proper corrections have been applied. Okay, so far he's saying here are these two other options. Here's the next part that's great. Both explanations seem plausible. So what he just said seems plausible, but neither is permitted by the observation. So he's saying now neither of those match what we actually see. The apparent departures from uniformity in the world picture are fully compensated by the minimal possible corrections for redshifts. No margin is left for a thinning out. The true distribution must be either uniform or increase outward, leaving the observer in a unique position. There's that unique position again. But he says, but the unwelcome supposition of a favored location must be avoided at all costs. And this is supposed to be science, folks. I mean, this is ridiculous. Such a favored position, again, being at the center of the universe, of course, is intolerable. I mean, talk about just going down the wrong road. I mean, this is, they're actually saying observations tell us we're at the center, but we're not going to even look at that. Therefore, in order to restore homogeneity and to escape the horror, my favorite line ever, to escape the absolute horror of a unique position, guys. I mean, we cannot be in the center. This would be the worst thing ever. Why? Because it means that there's intelligence. It means that there's planning. It means that the human beings that are here are not the smartest things that ever existed, that there's some more, far more intelligent something out there. The departures from uniformity, which are introduced by the recession factors, must be compensated by the second term, representing effects of spatial curvature. There seems to be no other escape. And so basically this is what they're doing. They're looking at observations, they're telling it the way it is, and then saying, but we don't like that, so let's come up with some other stuff that we can say is true and go away from that. I wrote another quote down here where he talks about what mathematics is, and he says, mathematicians deal with possible worlds with an infinite number of logically consistent systems. Observers explore the one particular world that we inhabit. Between the two stands the theorist. He studies possible worlds, but only those which are compatible with the information furnished by the observers. In other words, theory attempts to segregate the minimum number of possible worlds, which may include the actual world we inhabit. Then the observer, with the new factual information, attempts to reduce the list further, and so it goes, observation and theory advancing together towards a common goal of science, knowledge of the structure and observation of the universe. But the part that he misses from this, the part that he leaves out, is the fact that when the observer observes something that they don't like, they just go in the opposite direction. And it's that easy.
He's giving more of so to speak, like ideal sort of. He's trying to butter his cherry, so to speak.
Right.
He's just saying, yeah, I'm doing. It's kind of like the Indian guy that I looked into. He's a Vedic astronomer or something, and he has a critique of science in the beginning of his book. Is a book about the cosmos, like he believes it's a helix, but then he presents such sketchy models in the moon and the earth having like a spiral tail of atmosphere coming off of them. He's saying that every planet should look like a comet.
Oh yeah, the image that you showed, the where our atmosphere would fly off.
Yeah, he says that's what he's doing. It has to be.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, you can't have a globe Earth with atmosphere existing in space anyway, let alone if it's flying off like a comet traveling at... I mean, there's just so much nonsense that you have to fall for. I continue here. Nothing is very difficult for a mathematician who can deal with possible worlds and an infinite array of systems to play with. What is obvious is the hate for God in the previous quotes and the horror of having to be the center of creation. If you haven't had a chance, you must see the movie The Principle. Austin, have you seen that?
I have not seen all of it. I've only seen clips.
Pretty good. Yeah, check it out. I mean, there's so much in that movie, and there's a reason why it was shunned and My favorite thing about that movie is that once it came out and everybody realized it was a geocentric movie, they all the scientists that were in it, right? Lawrence Krauss, Michio Kaku, all said, "Oh no, we had no idea." Even though what they said, and it wasn't changed, it's just their words. It's just they didn't know they were going to be used in that way. But the funniest person who took a back step from it was, oh God, now I can't remember her name. The girl that was the narrator said, "I had no idea it was a geocentric film," but she's the narrator. She's also she was on Star Trek or Star Wars or something. God, what is her name? I'll have to think of it. But it's just so funny to find
That's
a movie
hilarious.
come out and then you're like, oh, I had no idea that this was a geocentric film. It's like, you read the script. What were you? You read it out loud. You were recorded while reading it. Yeah, but then I go in to talk about so people can find this, like I said. But the most important quote is in there again. Is that they looked at it and said, okay, well, observations tell us that we're the center. So rather than build a science around that and say, okay, let's talk about the science that exists based on our observations.
But it is one thing that's incredible about this whole thing, and the principle sort of touching upon this. So and we talked about it before, is the background microwave radiation thing, which is. Right. They say they caught this in a radio telescope. If you look at how they came up with this idea, it's a sketchy radio telescope back in the 50s or 60s. And they caught this image, which looks just like the Milky Way. And then they claim, somebody just made the claim that it is the background radiation left from the Big Bang.
Right, of course it's.
And then they just run with this.
But that's what I mean by when I say that, science has been built on or not science, but at least this particular field of study has been built on faulty foundations. I said time is up for science, all because they built their practice around faulty foundations, and there is no coming back. And I've described it a few ways, before. It's just like a tightrope walker walking across two buildings. Those people, they know better than to look down. They basically look forward, and you just have to walk across the tightrope. You can't remind yourself that you're up high. When you do, that's when you lose your balance and you fall down. Well, science is kind of the same way, or I don't want to say science, but certain branches of it at least, that refuse to ever look at the foundations, refuse to ever look down at what they were built upon. They'd rather just continue walking across the tightrope. And that's what they've done. And as long as the next discovery or the next realization comes on those foundations, then they just keep going. That's okay to do. And that's what I mean by junk science, when you've got all these guys that you need to make a name for yourself. If you're an astrophysicist, if you're an astronomer, somebody like that, you have to come up with something different, but it has to still be based on those faulty foundations. Well, what do you get with that? You get nonsense.
And that's exactly what the point you were making before on formal education and invention, because it's dangerous for people who are really creative and inventive to have to conform to what you just said. And that's why apprenticeship has always been the model for passing on technical knowledge on various fields that allow the person then to carry on their own and come up with their own stuff, instead of having to conform to what the whole system wants them to say because there's money for it. Right.
Yeah. No. So here I say that the evidence the universe looks the same, whichever direction we might look, might suggest there's something special about our place in the universe. In particular, it might seem that we observe all other galaxies to be moving away from us, and we must be at the center. What did Edwin Hubble write when he first discovered redshifts moving away from the Earth everywhere he looked? Wow, look, we may be at the center? No. Hey, we appeared to have a central position, but maybe there are alternate explanations. No, he did not even say that.
You're even being nice to him there. He said there's no way the horror
right.
of it.
No, and that's what that's what I said. Wow, I said no. We appear to have a central position, but maybe there are alternate explanations. No, he didn't say that either. He said, and I quote again,
he didn't say that.
Yeah, such a condition would imply, it's unwelcome. We have to disregard this possibility. The unwelcome position of a favored location must be avoided at all costs. Such a favored position is intolerable. Wow. We have to escape the horror. I've never heard somebody so against something that observationally is right there in front of you. It has to be avoided at all costs. It's its favored position.
Sounds like somebody who's being paid to say this, almost.
Right. What is he scared of exactly?
Yeah.
Oh, does a creator loves me? That's just horrific. I don't even understand.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's because these guys, and I've talked about it before. It's a worldview. You have, this is the problem with the world today, is you've got, I don't know if it's half and half. I have no idea what the percentages would be if you're talking about a world population, but there's half the people, let's just say it's half, that understand that there's a creative force. These are the people that are spiritual. These are the people that understand that there's something beyond the physical. And then there's the other half that have been convinced by this world of science that none of that's possible. The reason that they've been convinced by that is because that's the very point of their endeavor. The very point of their endeavor is to prove to people that there is nothing special. We are nothing important. We are just a speck of dust. We are just flying through a vacuum. Whatever they come up with, it has to be that. And how do we have proof of that? Well, right here. What we're looking at is proof of that. Proof that by observations, if you're able to say, hey, we look out, everything's moving away from us, that tells us we're the center, but they tell us no. We have to avoid that at all costs. Why? Because all of a sudden then, like you said, there is a creator. You are loved. You might be responsible for the things that you do on this earth. You might be held accountable for the wrongs that you do. None of these guys want anything to do with that. I mean, another thing I've talked about before, but think of Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, these guys have importance, I guess you can call it importance or whatever, is because they simply go around saying that we're not important. That is their claim to fame, right? Their claim to fame, the reason that they are held up on a pedestal is because they make sure they tell people, don't hold yourself up on a pedestal. Don't think you're important. Don't think you're central. So I end this article with, here's what you may have missed. The idea of curvature of space is required to keep Earth out of a unique position. So if you've ever wondered why they don't try to prove the Earth to be spinning, it's because doing so means that relativity is incorrect. If it is incorrect, then the curvature of space is incorrect. And if it is incorrect, then guess who stands at the center of the galaxy and the entire universe in a very, very, very favored position? And that's you. So I just thought it was interesting that Dave asked for that quote today. I'm like, I haven't actually read that in a while. And I think it's terribly important. I'm always bringing up quotes that, tell us about relativity and tell us that we've been lied to. I mean, even Tesla said it, right? Tesla said in his New York Times interview that the theory wraps all these errors and fallacies, and he's talking about relativity, of course. The theory wraps all these errors and fallacies and clothes them in magnificent mathematical garb, which fascinates, dazzles, and makes people blind to the underlying errors. The theory is like a beggar clothed in purple, whom ignorant people take for a king. Its exponents are very brilliant men, but they are metaphysicists rather than scientists. Not a single one of the relativity propositions has been proved. And it just, it goes to tell you that this is the problem with relativity. And I did a good video, I think, called Quotes That Tell Us We've All Been Lied To, where I went through some of these quotes about relativity. It's just mathematical garb, and it dresses up this idea.
I think Tesla also says that he bombarded the atom or whatever with the billions of volts, and nothing happened, and it's impossible to divide the atom. Like, he's basically saying that the atomic bomb was a farce.
Yeah. He said he disintegrated atoms tons of times, and in fact, before he did it the first time, he turned to the people with him, and they were like, "Now, just so you know, you might want to leave because all these other scientists say there's going to be a huge explosion," and no one left, and nothing happened. So,
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about relativity that's so weird. And again, even if relativity is true, and which, if you look at it in a simple way, it's that you can never tell whether or not what's spinning, right, or what's moving. Because basically, if you're on Earth, then to you, it appears that the sun is moving around you. If you're on the sun, it would appear that the Earth's moving around you. This is the whole concept of relativity.
The reason why I don't really, but I get, they say that, you're very small and you're on this big ball and it's spinning and you can't feel it, but it is in a way, it's untestable.
Well, yeah,
that actually all those movements at the same time would not throw you. When you try to test it, you would be flying off.
I saw a quote. I saw a comment today in somebody's video, and I don't remember which video I was watching, but somebody said they were talking to their mother about flat Earth or something, and their mom said the reason that we don't feel the Earth spin is because we're spinning so fast. It's like.
But you see, to touch on that, you see what seems to be the common factor with all modern quote unquote science is that you can't disprove it. Like evolution,
right.
Well, it takes billions of years,
right.
So of course you can't disprove it, or it's billions of galaxies.
Right.
What a coincidence that all existence is just so massive when it comes to the numbers that back the theories that we can't actually test them.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, maybe this is just a personal problem I have, but I can't even imagine how people have been convinced that I mean, we basically live in the 50-year. Let's take everything that they tell us is correct, right? So that the Earth is 4.54 billion years old, the universe is 14 billion years old, whatever nonsense they tell us. Let's say that that's true. To think that we live in the little 50-year period of time on Earth, that these men are so smart they've been able to figure out how old the universe is, how old the Earth is. It's so insane. I mean, and then they always describe it, right? Well, you're just an amoeba on a rock. And this, imagine there's some amoeba on a rock in your street, and somehow that amoeba has figured out how old the location that it is, and it can rewind the time and go back in time and figure out when it. I mean,
their primeval soup. They call it.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But you're right. They need all those years. That's why evolution came along. They need those years. That's why dinosaurs are important. We need to put this time frame back so that people accept this. And again, that's what I'm talking about the worldview. When you realize that that's science's job, is to remove the creator, is to remove any idea of anything that the Bible says for sure. And we've seen so much proof of that. It's so funny that all the things in the Bible have to be refuted by science. Science goes out, and again, you can go out and prove anything you want. If you want to go out and prove something that, we think this, well, you get enough people together to have that same mindset, you teach them that in a book, and then you call that proof. It's not very difficult.
Yeah, they essentially invented the idea that the whole world is built on very slow layers, that very slowly these layers deposit. And then you can have some estimate of millions and hundreds of millions of years. They have really very high numbers that couldn't possibly be verified. And it's all kind of made up in the 19th century, really, when they didn't have much technology at all, barely had electricity.
God, I can't remember now. I was just thinking about a thing I watched a while back called Unexplained. And it's with, I can't remember, what's Shatner. Shatner's the host of it or something.
Right.
But there was one episode that was talking about there's some fire burning underneath a city. It's been burning for 65 years. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, God.
No.
It just made me think of that, which was just hilarious. I'm like, so there's some fire that's completely destroyed this city, and it's been burning underground, and all of our techniques have been unable to put out this fire that's just burning beneath the ground. And it's just hilarious that we're supposed to believe all these strata layers and everything. When they've even got a fire burning for 60 years that has basically destroyed everything underneath this town. It's pretty funny. Nobody lives there anymore.
Where is this?
I'll have to look it up. Let me look it up. See, because I haven't done any research on it besides just watching that episode, and I was like, oh boy, where are they getting this stuff from? But you haven't seen that episode? I don't remember where I saw it. Somebody sent it to me on YouTube. I'll have to look for it.
I was wondering, Austin, how did you grow up looking at space crack propaganda and stuff? Did you like sci-fi, and did you look at NASA, and did you think that did they dazzle you at some point? Did you grow up with them in high school or preschool or whatnot?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was at one point pretty obsessed with just the mainstream space propaganda shows Through the Wormhole. I would pride myself in basically, in recollection, all I was doing was regurgitating what those dudes were saying, but I was just obsessed with the idea, and I wanted to I was intrigued about the idea of furthering the theoretical understandings of the universe. But of course, in recollection, it was all just a complete waste of time. And I mean, they just talk about what they think. And all of it has to, no matter what, it has to disprove any form of creation. And so, it blows my mind. But I have to be patient with people and remember that I used to fall for it too. But
right. So it's called Centralia. Just so you know, I had to look it up. The Centralia mine fire. Centralia is in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And it says, the Centralia mine fire is a coal seam fire that has been burning underneath the borough of Centralia, Pennsylvania since May 1962. It is burning underground coal mines at depths up to 300 feet over an 8-mile stretch. At its current rate, it will continue to burn for over 250 years. It has caused most of the town to be abandoned. The population dwindled from about 1,500 at the time of the fire started to 7 in 2013. Most of the buildings have been leveled, but the show actually did a good job of going out and showing you that in all these places there's constant smoke coming up from the ground. I haven't done any research beyond that, but I thought it was just interesting what you brought up, and it made me think of it. That it's just so funny. I mean, this would be burning everything under the ground. I've talked about it before that they've done studies on volcanic eruptions, and then they go test the rocks that are created from the lava, and they come back at 3 or 7 million years old. It just it just goes to show you that it's a lot of nonsense. But as far as this story being true, I don't know. I have never been there. Supposedly, from what I remember from the episode, there was like some coal fire underneath there, and they can't put it out. It's like, I don't know how they wouldn't be able to put it out.
There's some sort of deposit, probably some big deposit of coal, and once it starts burning,
right, it's just basically like
stop.
Charcoal right underneath. But yeah, there's lots of even YouTube videos on it here. Let's see here. Basically showing you that there's this fire burning underneath the city that's been burning for 60 years. I just found it crazy. Centralia, and that places where there used to be houses now are just gone, and people go there and ride on the roads like this. I don't know.
That is crazy. That's crazy. I've never seen that.
Yeah, so they show you like this house is here, and this is it after. It's just been burning underground for. So yeah, I'll have to do some research on that beyond what the show told me, because I always be skeptical. Always do your own research, as I say. But I thought it was a very interesting story. I was like, wow, is that the case, that there's a fire that's been burning for 60 years under some city in Pennsylvania that they say now won't be out for 250 years? Pretty insane. You'd think there'd be a way to put it out, but who knows? Who knows? They're not obviously working on it. So I have to run to the restroom real quick. Talk about whatever you want. Just give me 2 seconds.
Hey, to touch on to what you were talking about, Rodrigo, so yeah, I agree with you in the sense, it's like innovation cannot coexist with conformity, so of course all these inventions come from outside of the system because they're just counter opposites. So I just find it so sad. I know so many smart people, man, that have their credentials, and now that they've invested so much of their life into furthering these presuppositions and these theories, I just think it becomes an issue of ego. You would have to kind of admit that the last 10 years was worthless.
Defend it to the death at the end. Yeah, sometimes there's a lot involved. A friend of mine, for instance, his wife's brother, I guess, works in a satellite company or something.
Who? What?
So then, that's why he's been resisting so much some of the things I'm saying. That's the kind of thing that people are invested sort of emotionally into something. And as you're saying here, but the thing is with PhDs in academia, what happens, and when you actually look into it, because people usually they say, oh yeah, it's PhD. Even the Wheeler thing we were looking at, he's talking about some suppose general PhD that's all the same somewhere, but that doesn't really exist. Like everybody does, if you look at what I wrote and whatever I did, that's one thing that's different from the next person in the same room where I was, completely different. So, that is the expertise or whatever. Those are the questions, that I looked into myself. And it's a thing of my own kind of thing. But in the so-called hard sciences, what you see is that someone has a project with a machine that yields data. Then they have the money for someone to come in to get a PhD. This person comes, runs a few tests on that machine to get some results and make some interpretations based on the theory that the guy who gave him the job wants him to write on because it gives him political status and so on. Then he does that, and they call it like a sandwich thesis. So he gets his 3 results, he puts it in the middle, and then he writes an introduction and a conclusion. And then he tries to publish in some papers, he gets a position, and he carries on. So that model is very different from, even in the arts. If you think, say, for instance, you want to study, the history of cinema or history of the arts, cinema and literature or something, and then you find something you really, really like, and you read everything about it. You analyze it or whatever, you look into it. Maybe you have a reason for doing this, but that's what you learn. It's only going to be applicable as far as you can relate that to some other subjects. So what you see is that the farther you depending on what you're studying, you're really just going to dive into. It's kind of like the story of the student from UBC who's someone who came in, a friend of mine, who was in the sciences breaking the backs of rats by hand, because that was her job, because that was a grant, because that was the study.
Jeez. And
getting traumatized because of spinal cord type of thing. So she had to manually, because the prof wouldn't do it. The prof had the money so that she would do it. And it was driving her nuts. She was basically torturing these animals.
Wow.
Right? And that is, part of the whole apparatus, the whole so-called science that I think is not even science. If you're torturing a creature, injecting it with whatever it is, or doing whatever, for me, that's not science. It's a torture, essentially. Science is something that should be non-intrusive. And it's how we learn the most about animals as well. Like the whales that do what they do, we learn by observing them in their natural habitat. That's how you learn. It's not by talking to them, which is something that people can do, communication. That I think Karen B has talked about it. So it's like that's real knowledge. And what we have, this idea, which is the Victorian sort of science, this materialist, atheists, eugenics, and whatnot, they like to get things, dissect them, kill them, take them apart, and mince them, and put them in centrifuges and look at the result. That's how they claim that humans are 98% like the chimp. They get pieces of human tissue, pieces of chimp. They triturate it, they mince it, they put it in a centrifuge, then they burn it, and they get some sort of, in the smoke, they get a percentage, and then that's where the claims coming from. So,
right, and that's where all the funding goes, is something like that. I think it's so crazy, because even obviously I'm a big fan of Tesla, but just to use them as an example, all the way back when Tesla was, in the peak of his career, he had trouble getting funding, and he was isolated by people, and his findings weren't conclusive with the current theories. And that's why I like him, because he wasn't motivated by money, and if he discovered something that contradicted what he thought before that, well, he just updated his stance, and so it's like a rarity nowadays.
And also updating the things that he made, right? Because he did that, I think, with some engines. He did it one way, and then he had another epiphany and made it, because he dreamed up the designs, and then he could just essentially make it, which is
exactly. And he made the AC generator, and then Steinmetz perfected it. And it wasn't like he went to Steinmetz and was like, "You better stop perfecting my generator. I made it." He was grateful for him, perfecting the generator. So that's wild.
Which is true. That's how science should be going forward, right? And now we have also a model of industry that takes over scientists, takes over talent or whatever from the universities, being this kind of job factory. So they get the people in sciences that have some talent, they try to kind of gather them into their companies, and then that research gets buried from the public, right? That's another whole black hole that the public doesn't get to see. Like, you don't know what's going on Boeing unless they tell you, right?
Of course. And believe me, they don't tell you everything.
Yeah. Sorry.
Never. No, I said, and believe me, they don't tell you everything.
Yeah, and then the other thing you said, there's a concept, Jaron, for, they call it a Procrustean bed, Procrustes, cutting his victims or whatever to fit his bed, which is kind of like it's a metaphor for science. That what you're talking about, kind of looking at all this information, seeing that it doesn't fit the model, and desperately, ripping it to shreds and mathematizing, magicizing it, and coming up with something that keeps you in charge, essentially, which is what they do.
Right. Well, of course, there's science that does good things, and science can lead to breakthroughs, and those breakthroughs can lead to better lives for all of us. And then there's astrophysics,
right?
And there's something, astronomy, or something that just continues to tell fantasies, continues to tell stories, continues to convince people of nonsense. That you look out over the ocean and you can see the horizon 3 miles away, and if you just look up a little bit at night, you can see stars multiple trillions of miles away. To me, it's just insane. And to think that you can only see so far. It's just the way it works. One of the reasons I called today's show Curve Illusions is, I don't know if you guys have seen this video. I'll bring it up here. It's just great. I mean, great work by the channel name is Sky Free. Oops, I think I subscribed to my other channel. He's only got 264 subscribers, so people should check him out. But let's watch. This is a little tiny toy boat, of course. Not a real boat, or there's no people in there. It's a tiny remote control boat. But it really just goes to show, these curve illusions. So we're watching this boat now. It's definitely, below the water line. And this is only a few hundred feet. It's not like a mile. It's not like 2 miles. I think it's like 500 feet. Then he puts this sail on the boat with a little mast on there or whatever. And you can see that after this boat goes on, and this is exactly what we see in the Red's Rhetoric video, right? This is exactly what we see when the boat goes off. And then as soon as you can only see the sail of the ship, this is when they call it curvature. Let's go a little bit further here. There you go. So then, and this is what I was describing in my video that was in response to his, was that what you're looking at here is a reflection of itself. This is just the sail reflecting itself, blocking the bottom. This boat didn't go over any curvature. It's only 500 feet away. There would be maybe a half of an inch of curvature over 500 feet, probably.
Yeah, this is obviously a warm day, and you're getting a lot of.
And it doesn't even need to be warm, to be honest. I mean, I've gone out now on cold days, and I mean, look at this. It's this boat. It's looming. Is what they would call it. That's it's just because you've gotten such a reduced angle at that boat that you get this kind of what they call looming, where they think that this boat is floating above the water when we know that the water line is right here. But what you're getting is that back, and you can see all the doubling going on. We talked about the doubling before. So this is just great. And this video is called Atmospheric Illusions of Curvature, Observable, Testable, Repeatable. And, when you get too low to this water, these little waves that are right in front of you cover the boat from afar. And you can see here that little sail. And again, you see all the doubling going on here. Look at that. I mean, is this boat looming? Is it coming up from behind curve? No.
So seems to be flying in the air. It's like the observable reality videos as well, that the boat goes off in the distance. I think it's a farther observation, and it looks like a ship flying in the air.
Right. Exactly right. And it's, they'll call that looming, or they'll say that it's just appearing to be above the horizon. But really, we're just seeing these kind of effects of water at distance. You get all this doubling back here, and what it's doing is just reflecting this land on this water here and this atmospheric condition. But you can tell by just looking at this boat where the water line is. Obviously the water line is here, and what you're getting is a reflection from this up here down here. So when you start to see, looking across water, and we see buildings that are partially covered by water, of course that's what globe earthers will immediately proclaim as curvature. And this is what we've been trying to show. This is a great little video of just a small little test that you can do to show, no, this boat is still in the water back here.
Well, one of the tricks that they do, Jaron, that I've seen is that they superimpose, say the Jake Dolan's picture with some sort of angle they got, and then they claim that they're observing curvature or whatever. Like what I saw with that troll on Spacecrack that talked to Nathan. In that case, he was showing like a photograph that didn't even match the other photograph, and one was obviously compressed, so the building was mirrored, but he didn't address that either.
Well, it'd be very easy to take this image here and say, I proved curvature. Here's the sail of the boat, and the other part of the boat is below the horizon. And that's what they do. So it's very easy. Dave Weiss has said it many times, that it's so easy to promote and believe in lies, because it really takes no work. It just takes looking at this video, finding the one piece, and where they might come back and say the same thing about us, when they might say, oh, well, Jaron, you're just going out to the Salton Sea and waiting till you can see a mirror flash and calling it proof that the Earth's flat, when they don't see that it is proof that the Earth's flat. It's completely different. We're seeing beyond the horizon. We are seeing way too far.
But it's another proof, right? It's kind of like what Stallion 7, we were having a conversation the other day. He sent me a photograph. It's like, look, and I took it my iPhone or my phone without a lens or anything special. I took a photo from the coast of Spain showing Ibiza. And it shows Ibiza with this kind of saddle. It has a saddle formation in it. and there's, it's known the altitude of that saddle, and you see the entire saddle, and it's like, I don't know, it's like 70 or 80 or 90. I don't know. It's 90 kilometers away. It's very, very far. But he could see it with his phone.
Well, it's like this little boat here. Did this little boat go over the curvature? Where'd it go? Up, it's gone. It must have gone over the curvature of the Earth. It's that easy. So if you wanted
as you said, this is really short distance as well, right? The curvature is negligible.
I want to say
here.
It was 600 feet, if I heard that correct somewhere. I don't remember if Ranty Flat Earth told me that or how I heard that it's 500 feet or something. But if it is that, if it's 8 inches per mile, then if you're talking about 500 feet, which would be what, 0.1 mile? I mean, you could even do the curvature calculation on that, and it would be ridiculous. See, and that's it. If you go 0.1, oops, that's feet. Let's say that he's 3 foot high, and he's looking at a 0.1 miles. Must be a sequence of at least 1 decimal point, 0.1. Yeah, I mean, you can't even. It won't even come up. I mean, there's no curvature at that. I mean, the horizon is 2.2 miles away. Well, clearly he's looking at 6 feet. He's not even
right.
I mean, I don't know. Can you go 0.5 miles? No, it's only going to let me do, a mile. But, oops. I wonder why that won't work. 3 feet, 1 mile. Calculate. Wonder why that doesn't work. 6 feet, 1 mile.
Maybe it has to be multiple miles for whatever reason.
I guess I'm doing this
wrong.
No.
No.
There we go. Oh, because there's no target hidden height. That's the problem. There wouldn't be anything hidden at, if you're 6 foot high and you're looking at 5 miles, then it's 2.66 feet. But if you try and go lower than that, basically what it is, there's no curve. That's what I'm trying to say over that.
Exactly. So it's working. It's just saying there's no curve there.
Right. And you always get this doubling. There you can see the doubling of the shoe. And this is just a great video because it just shows you kind of what we've been saying the whole time, that you get this doubling. And that doubling blocks, if there was for instance, let's say there's a lighter down here or something on the ground. Often that can be blocked by this larger item creating a reflection of itself in the atmosphere, which is right above the surface because you're so low to the surface, and you can actually hide things and they'll just call that curvature. And that's kind of what I mean by illusions of curvature. Is this is what we've been dealing with forever, right? The video with I'll bring it up in a second, but the guy going over the bridge with the bike. I'm sure everyone's seen that many times, but it's the same kind of thing that you go into that zone of refraction, if you want to call it that, or that zone of reflection, and you lose things. And over deeper distances, further distances, larger things get hidden. And then because those things get really small over the distance. So when you're looking across Lake Pontchartrain at buildings or something, it's the same effect happening, that you're only looking at about 2 miles, 3 miles worth of water. Then that ends, and then everything that happens after that is simply due to perspective.
Yeah,
I think
go ahead.
I think that's one of the craziest parts of this whole thing is stuff like this. We'll sit here and dissect a variance of factors, based on what we're seeing, the conditions, etc. And then a globe earther, for lack of a better term, will just say, "Oh, it's refraction. It has to be explained because you flat earthers are dumb. Y'all just don't know. I don't have to look into it because I know y'all are wrong." And it blows my mind. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but maybe like a zombie movie where someone's loved one becomes a zombie. So it's like the indoctrination zombies, and you can't even recognize them anymore because they're just not themselves because they don't even know what they're doing. They're just like defending what they've been brainwashed to believe, and so they don't even think for themselves anymore. It's like we got to find the antidote to wake them back up.
For some, I don't know if there is one.
Parasite. It's almost like a parasite type zombieism. And it is, but because it is a type of repetition, automatic repetition. And also it comes with insults combined, right? As if insults add to the argument, which is like, Jaron has had this, face-to-face many times, so he gave up wasting his time. Right.
It just because it becomes impossible. I mean, you can only show these videos, and again, people can watch this and they can say, "Oh, well, that is kind of evidence that." And you don't even need to say that the Earth is flat. But all I would expect is people to say is, "Oh, that's interesting. That does kind of look like what we see when we look over bodies of water. Oh, that does kind of explain that maybe boats don't actually go over the curve." And they just have to come back with something, and they'll always say, "This is looming. Oh, this item is really down here. No, it's really up here, and the water is up here. This is all water in this area here." They just fail to see that and won't admit it. And again, this movement would be a lot either further along or be dead if really you had globe earthers that would just admit the issues that we're seeing and admit what we're calling out, and at least be able to explain it. But they won't even try to explain them. They'll just say, nope, that's curvature.
Exactly. They don't even concede any ground.
Never.
You know,
Never.
It's easy to let that go with some random person, but when you have friends and family in your life that you want to break through to, it's super frustrating, you know, because it's like, do you really not see what you're doing right here? It's just like I have people that'll swear up and down they know more about this conversation than me, and they've done no research.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, you're so open-minded. But when it comes to the Earth, you just shut down and you turn into a globe zombie.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's a product of our upbringing. I mean, you were just. It's so funny when I watch TV now, and maybe everybody gets this, but have you noticed how there has to be a globe in like every scene? It's
like so many
everywhere.
places.
It doesn't matter if it's a child's bedroom, a college student, some house, some doctor's office, some. There has to be a globe everywhere. And think of what an antiquated, a piece of junk a globe is anyway. If they were so important, then airline pilots would use them to fly. Then ship captains would use them to sail. Then, nobody uses a globe. It's just for looks. It's a toy. It even tells you not for educational purposes on the globe. Why? Because it's just an idea. It's a concept. It helps people visualize the world, I guess, better. But it's so funny
and
that
they throw it as subliminal message in scenes where there's like sex scenes or scenes where good things are happening. Like in that series, the whole series, House, that like Dr. who is like a kind of a materialist, sort of goes out at hookers and whatnot, and he's supposed to be really intelligent. And in his study, he has, at some point I think he had 2 globes, and he always has a ball that he handles. So it's it's just everywhere.
Yeah, once you know to look for it, you can't not see it. In my live last night, I showed a little bit of this an image from this movie called Sword in the Stone, which I'm sure y'all have heard of from like 1963 or something. And in the movie, a literal wizard takes Arthur into his little hut and shows him the globe Earth, and he says, in the future, everyone will find out that the Earth's actually a ball. And Arthur's like, what?
Oh, God.
Arthur's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, and it's spinning. And then he goes and looks through a telescope. He's like, then they'll find out they're a tiny speck of dust in the universe. And it's a literal wizard telling the kid about the ball. It's crazy.
Oh, they just so smug, I guess.
Yeah, and I think
no wonder.
Some of the best work as far as our observations go has been done by Phuket Word. I was trying to find the particular video, but I'm not finding it right now. But I mean, he explains it quite well. But again,
one thing I was gonna say that like you wonder if people are actually thinking, because like I was saying, the 1969 Werner von Braun thing. When he talks about the bases that's supposed to be around the Earth that he's going to put out, he sees like donut-shaped things that also seen in Kubrick's film, like just because it was the state-of-the-art technology of the time. So it's like this rotating thing in space, and what does it do? As it rotates, it generates gravity. Okay, it's a centrifuge. All right, it's a centrifuge that generates gravity.
Oh boy!
But the Earth is spinning, and whereas it should be flying away from the center, the other way around, right? It's the other way around.
Right. So
they generate gravity by rotating something and putting you against the surface of it in the outer shell, right? So it's completely. How can you generate gravity in a way that goes completely against what the model of gravity is supposed to be, right? For me, it's just so obvious that it's a total bamboozle. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. It's double think. But and until now, they do have a machine inside the ISS they call a gravity simulator, and it is a centrifuge. So I don't know, just crazy.
No, it certainly is. And I was looking at a few videos here. I'm not going to bring them up because I don't have them ready yet. But he just does some great perspective videos. He did a recent one with some lighters just explaining that things in the distance get smaller. It's like these things we have to like walk people through. We have to walk globe earthers through this. Like, did you know that things in the distance get smaller?
Well, the one you did with the Life is Short is one that I remember being very, very good.
That's a
because
great one, yeah.
it also quickly debunked one of Wolfie's claims about horizons dropping in airplanes as well. And he does a really good explanation of how the compression works. So I don't know, you went through it all there. I like those.
Yeah, that's a great video. People can check that out. I think it's called Perspective Refraction with Life is Short. And I did want him to do another presentation. I think he's going to do that on my channel soon. So I did see. Do you know a lot about the Flat Earth Football Club? I saw another article about them. Have you met him, or just Iru has?
No, I met him. I was on stage when he delivered a T-shirt to Iru and the other guys, and
Javi Povas, right?
In Barcelona.
You're talking about Javi Povas, right?
Javi Povas, yeah. And he went to the beach with us and stuff. And there's been a lot of media.
Yeah, they're doing well and moving up, and it's hilarious. It's actually great when you watch these videos, and I will put this link into the description just so people want to watch these videos. I don't want to play too much of it. I'll get a copyright. But basically, they just interview Javi Povas, who's the manager? Is that what you would call him?
The president.
Okay.
But it's like a family club. It's like him and his dad and his sister or something. They kind of manage it.
Right.
Because it was a small club. So it's a small town club, but they managed to get into the professional third division. So it's a professional club, and they have a stadium as well. So it's not just, it's a family business, but they did very well in terms of playing good football, at least up until the point. Now I don't know exactly how it's doing it. I think it's doing okay. And this guy here, this is the coach from the national team of Argentina, world champion.
Coco Basile, right?
Basile, yeah.
Yeah.
And his son is a really good friend of Iru, a really good friend of Javi, and was in Barcelona as well, this guy's son. So, he's a total flat earther, this guy.
Yeah, that's what he says in this video, and again, I'll put that in the show notes. I'm actually looking at something right now. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. A
lot of this has to do with Iru's work, I think, because he's just been such a dynamic force in the Spanish movement, and driving on and on and on, and doing great work, and it really caught fire, in the Spanish world. I think it's just bound to grow more.
Yeah, no, it's doing well. So shouts out to them, because I think that's great work, like you said, spreading the word, and they've got their uniforms and their chants and everything is all flat Earth, and they're getting good, a lot of good press about it. So that's cool.
Also, he takes a stand against the betting and stuff.
Yeah, I guess he left soccer right after 3 years or something, because he said it was all about money, and it was all about he didn't want to be a part of that. So that's cool.
Yeah, he was in the first division. He was playing the big league. Yeah.
Yeah, it says here he hung up his boots and decided to travel the world. Disillusioned and resentful. What I've seen from within makes it clear professional football is only money and corruption. It's capitalism, and capitalism is death, says Povas. I don't want to be part of a system based on people earning money at the expense of the deaths of others in South America, Africa, and Asia. To put it simply, my conscience will not let me continue to do this. And like you said, he was, a top-level player, too.
Yeah.
It's not like he was on the bottom of the group or anything.
Yeah, that's why it was odd, and people thought, wow, nobody would have done that, they would think, but he had problems with it and didn't want to do it, and then he started his club and found that it was what he wanted to do. And then he found out about the flat Earth, and he's like, this is what I'm going to do, and then that's it.
It always kills me when I see this model where the Earth is just out in space so like stupid. This. I mean, no one believes that, bro.
No. They love to put that. And David Weiss has done a good job whenever he does a interview or anything, or he always gives them images and says, do not, because this is what will happen if you don't. And yeah, when you look at this is ridiculous. And even worse than this is when they put the other planets next to it. So they got
Exactly.
the spherical Mars, the spherical Saturn, the spherical Jupiter, and then this one like somewhere thrown in the middle. And then, of course, if you look at that, who in their right mind wouldn't think that that's not insane? And like you said, Austin, none of us believe that.
They're going to explain perspective, you know?
Yeah, well, just nobody believes that. I mean, I don't know any flat earther that thinks that the Earth is flying through space except for the Flat Earth Society. Of course, they believe that the Earth is something like this and it's flying upward in space. So,
But like,
Some
isn't
people
this
mention,
sorry?
yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Isn't this kind of an admission of guilt in a way that they have to misrepresent the model? Like I don't understand how people don't see that.
That's all they got.
Yeah, or for example, there are some things that would definitively put it into the flat Earth. If you were to, I don't know, show a space shuttle re-enter the atmosphere where we can lifetime record it from the surface as well and coordinate the footage, or where you could zoom in and show things upside down. If we don't see any of these things that we're talking about going to Mars, can we just get a 24/7 feed of the Earth, please? Because if it's a ball, you could just put this to rest for good, you know?
That's what I say. Yeah, you just put a camera on the moon and just show the Earth in real time.
They think they have it, man. They think they have it. They're gonna say it's the what's the name? The Japanese whatever. There's like a couple. Discover's one of them.
The
and then there's the
Cayuga.
other one. What's the name?
Cayuga? Not that one. But you're totally right, Austin. I mean, they have to misrepresent.
Himawari, right?
Oh, that satellite thing.
Right.
We can go look at that.
They say no, but we do have photos of the Earth from the Himawari and the other one, whatnot. Right, and that's
Himawari, right.
They think that's undebunkable. They think that looks very real and so on. And for them, that's it ends there. For a lot of people, for them, they're like, oh, this is here.
It's not even in real time. And that's the funny thing to me is that, it's always way behind. Right now it's 26 minutes behind my time. But what people don't realize is how easy this would be to fake. That
It looks worse than Google Earth.
Yeah, it's just terrible. And if people think this is really and again, it's so crazy that like, how far is this supposed to be? 22,000 miles away? I might be wrong on that. But you never see the moon go passing by behind it.
What's that?
It's just like I don't know. You can it's so bad. And I've tried to talk about it before, and I guess maybe I don't really get it. Let me see if I can find a video. I always forget you have to go back to some date, and then you can get a video to play. But I've never understood if you kind of go through... How do you play a video? I don't remember. Play the latest animation. This one here. Yeah, I guess this. I mean, but it's always minutes late, and... I mean, it's ridiculous to me.
The heck?
I don't get it. And then the weird thing to me is that... oops, that's all the video, and then it starts over again. I don't know. It just doesn't...
Well, and of course, Paul on the Plane has uncovered how this whole thing is put together with the maps.
We found the
layers.
the blue marble layers and the blue marble construction pieces. And as I've showed before, and I know it's... Oops, am I showing this? Oh, good. I've showed this before, and I don't think that anybody really disagrees with it. Let me get a full image if I can. Let me go back a day. Whoa, where are we at here? Where's the full image? But if you zoom in on this, you can actually see all the pieces. It was certainly not an image. It's certainly not like a photograph. If you zoom in here, and I've showed this before, and people will have to do it themselves because you won't be able to see on my screen, I don't think. Let me get in here as close as I can. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can see it. Do you see this purple line here? Right above my mouse. You see that?
Very, very faintly.
Yeah, you'll have to do it yourself. But when you go there and you look, and it's everywhere. There's one right here. Then there's one right here. It's just strip data. It's not a photograph. It's not. There's another one, and you can find them in here with the clouds if you look real carefully. Like this one's right here. There's another one right. That one actually you can see real well because it's over the clouds.
Right.
So
Right.
There's these constant purple strips, and they're equal distance from each other all the way down the image. You can see this one really well.
Yeah.
And people looking at home might not be able to see it because it's going to be, double time. You're looking at my screen recorded on.
There's another one right there.
There's one right there. Right, and it's just pieces. And they can construct this so easily, and they throw it on a ball, and it's extremely easy to do. It's extremely easy to fake. But again, people can call this evidence if they want. To me, it's simply not. What is this supposed to be? The smoke from the fires?
I guess. Oh yeah, that's one of the things that they're talking about now. How that's spreading and how that's scary. And
what's this whole fear porn about China having some?
Look at the color. Australia is like red. It's like burning red.
Yeah, I don't know why it's that color either. And I've actually zoomed in as much as you can. And if you try and zoom in further than this, it just forces you out. Like if you go in too far, then it will usually just force you out. But why is this all red? See, it just keeps kicking me out when I try and go closer. Yeah, it's not going to let me go closer.
Mm-hmm. It's a limit.
But again, go to Google Earth, which is supposed to be images of... I guess I can bring that up and see. Let's go to Google Earth. Bring this up, what I'm looking at. And just look at the color, which is supposed to be satellite photographs, I'm guessing, of Google Earth, right? So if we back out of here and go over here, we don't see anything red. Completely different viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You get browns and then versus the... oops, how did I go back to that? Himari. It's completely different.
What the heck?
But again, these guys will just say anything and believe anything. And
it's
how easy
because
this
of the
would
fires.
be to
Is this just recent?
This is January 1st, 2020. I just went back 2 weeks. Let's go to the 15th, see if that's changed. Or now it looks like there is no smoke from fires. Or maybe this little
go back like a year or something. See if it's the same colors.
So we'll go 2019, January 2nd.
That's the color they have for it.
Yeah, it's just the color. So again, to me, this is not proof of anything, and the fact that anybody thinks that this is proof, and again, it's not a live video feed, it's just this one image. And of course, to me, I think it's interesting, where's the one of the United States? Where's the one? What is the point of this one? It only shows Australia?
Right. Yeah, it only shows where there's so little you can verify for yourself, because if you look into what they show you, those areas of Australia in the left, they're very remote. There's nobody living there.
Here?
People only live kind of on the East Coast, and I don't know. Still, no stars, no, none of those fancy lights from cities that they show in some supposed ISS footage. When Don Pettit has the camera, of course, he can see also the northern lights, and he can walk on them.
He can walk on them.
That's what he says.
Yeah. It's fun. Oops. Sorry, everybody. I was just showing...
Yeah, another thing that, like, what you're saying, one of the tricks they do, like, when seeing the horizon, when they claim that they see the curvature, is to ignore and to lie about what's right in front of you, kind of like Nat Geo. What they did is that they show an image that shows a horizon beyond the subject, the horizon beyond the horizon, as we like to call it. And then they claim that they're seeing the curvature at the same time.
Well, it's the identical thing to what we just looked at with Edwin Hubble. It's the identical thing, and instead of saying the absolute horror of a unique position, it's the absolute horror of a flat Earth. It must be avoided at all costs. So anything that's shown from too far, any evidence that's flat Earth related, we can see too far, anything like that must be avoided at all costs. It's an absolute horror of a flat Earth. It's an absolute horror of a created place.
That's what's so frustrating, man. For example, take this image. If you were to, which wouldn't be hard, clearly you've already done it, refute that this is real, what someone will do is then say, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's not real, but the Earth is still a ball. And they skip right over the primary question that should be asked is, why are they lying?
Right. That's why I think the moon landing is so important. At least is step one of realizing that we've been lied to, is you have to get past that point where you see, oh, wait a second, nations can get together and keep a lie going about something. And that's why it'll never come out. I used to think, oh, in a few years it'll come out that they lied about the moon landing. And then I realized the importance of the moon landing and how it's integral to every deception that they've ever laid, that they can never let that out. They will fight that to the death.
Oh wow, that's a good point because it shows complicit nature with all of these major world powers.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it shows that a conspiracy can be done over years, and it shows that it won't always be let out because they love this story. That, I mean, there's even an article I've read before where it talks about how some scientists did some study and came up with the moon landing would have been revealed within a matter, if it was a hoax, would have been revealed in a matter of 4 years. Of course, he was assuming that 400,000 people were in on it, not 25 people. If there was only 25 people in on it, of course that could last hundreds of years. And I think that was even in his study. Now, none of the articles that brought that up mentioned that part of the study. They just mentioned, scientist determines that moon hoax would have been revealed within 4 years. What they didn't reveal was that particular amount of, which is so stupid, because think about that. How would you ever be able to come up with any scientific data on how long a secret could be held if there's secrets out there that nobody knows have ever been revealed?
Bullshit.
You can't.
And of course,
it's the stupidest science
make
ever.
the example Watergate, right? You can talk about that too.
Yeah, sure. And there's just a ton. And again, but then he went down as far as different levels, and he went, well, if there was 1,000 people in on it, and I think if there was 100 people in on it, it said that the hoax could have lasted over 100 years.
It's
we're the ones saying there's less than that.
Like not even the most basic level.
Did they factor in how many of these people are Masons and how their main their whole main thing is to keep secrets?
Right. No. And again, how could you ever factor in any secret that's been held? You don't know that it's ever been revealed. So there's no scientific data that could ever come up with how long a secret could be held, because there's tons of secrets out there in the world that nobody knows are secrets because they haven't been revealed. So.
But there is one indication of how it's done. At the very least, if you read in Edgar Mitchell's book, The Way of the Explorer, the way he describes when he started working for the space program, before Grissom and after Grissom, the crisping of Grissom, that was the message. You mess up, you try to say that's not going to work, this is what's going to happen. And what they don't talk about is that how many astronauts die, the list of astronauts and how many have natural deaths. They won't be talking about that, because some people have come out and said that they have been lying. There's also that woman astronaut that faints when she's trying to describe. She was flying, I guess, with Chris Hadfield, and she was debriefing. You can see that in the Associated Press too on YouTube. If you look at it, you've seen this, I know. And she's describing when she's coming out of the space station and trying to describe what she saw, and she starts like freaking out, and then she says, "I lied," and then she falls on the floor, and then she gets up, and then she falls
so
again.
Weird. Yeah, I've seen that.
And that is something to do with the theme we were talking about the other time, hypnotism or something, drugs, something's going on. It's very odd, that's how you keep a secret. Also, the compartmentalization of it all. It's quite easy. We know that the person cleaning the bathroom doesn't know the plans of the president. Maybe they can sneak in. And they can try to steal something, but that's the best they can do.
This is the article I was talking about from the Telegraph right here. But it's funny because the very first image that comes up is one that in that Moon documentary I thought was so great. Is that if you look at just this picture and you realize that there's a hot spot here and a fall off, which is absolutely impossible if they're on a moon that's illuminated by a sun. Think about it. You think about going on in your block right now out in front of your house and looking at how the sun illuminates the entire street. It doesn't illuminate the area that you're in and then have dark spots behind it. This would all have to be of equal luminosity. And it's even in this image here, you can see it behind there. There's a hot spot right here. The fall off and the fall off here. It's so dumb. But anyway, of course it starts out, we got to have the tagline that everybody reads and then they think that they know something, right? Fake moon landing would have been exposed within 4 years, scientist concludes. So 50% of people who read this article will just read that. And then if you do go down to read a little bit more, you find out major conspiracy theories such as a faked moon landing would have been exposed within just a few years if they were really true, as scientists have concluded. No more of a false statement than that, because they'll go down to explain why that's false. Dr. David Grimes worked out a mathematical way to calculate the chances of a plot being deliberately leaked by a whistleblower or accidentally uncovered. Okay. He was able to show that the more people share in a conspiracy, the shorter its lifespan is likely to be. Okay, I can't disagree with that. And he says, for a plot to last 5 years, The maximum number of plotters turned out to be 2,521. Nobody that I know of that thinks that the moon landing is fake believes that there's 2,521 people that were sitting at NASA who knew that the moon landing was fake. The people who think that it was fake think that there was just maybe a few top-level guys plus the astronauts. So we're talking 10, 20, 30 people. It says to keep a scheme operating undetected for more than a decade, so 10 years, fewer than 1,000 people would have been involved, which is still less, is still more than we believe. While a century-long deception, which is 100 years, had to include fewer than 125. So that's what we all say. So he just, he proves it, which is hilarious. But he's saying applying the technique to 4 real-life scenarios showed that had the moon landings been a hoax involving an estimated 411,000 people who worked at NASA. So now this guy thinks for this test that... Oh, I thought I heard some sort of commercial coming up. I'm like, what am I on, TFR? Sorry, guys, we'll be right back. This is no. But,
No, sorry. It was me. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
No, fine, man. Fine. I just entered to say hello, and I accidentally I unmute myself. So sorry for that voices in the background.
No problem. Hey, you have your thing tomorrow, right?
And what?
The conference tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. I am in Madrid right now. We are waiting until tomorrow for the conference. It's going to be great. We have like 500 people, a few important media from the TV of Spain. So everything's going great, and I hope tomorrow I can, send a few videos from the conference to the Globebuster chat, and maybe you can share on Sunday.
Awesome, yeah, that'd be amazing. How's everything going over there? Good?
Yeah, completely. And in fact, yesterday we have like an interview with a local television channel, very important, and they decide to make like a special edition inside of TV program that they already have. It's like investigation report series, and they took like the idea of the flat Earth, and they made a 1 hour special topic about the flat Earth, and we have been interviewed and blah blah blah, but everything in terms of with respect, not with, of course they are not going to agree with our point of view, but they are taking this at least in some respectable way, and it's a lot because it's a national television channel, and be on air 1 hour with covering it's like a 3-part special TV program. One part is on the beach, making some observations or talking about our observations, not making in real time. Then like 20 minutes inside like an office, and then they're gonna cover the full event, the full conference. So they're gonna pick some images from there and make the complete 1 hour show. So that is very, very great.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. And the pilot's going to be, did you meet him already?
No, I'm going to meet directly tomorrow, but I was in touch with him, and he's going to give the presentation about 12 in the midday. So, but with that is everything okay. We are like 5 speakers, and the conference is going to take like 5 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So yeah, it's going to, and then on Sunday we're going to go to see a match from the soccer team, Flat Earth Football Club.
Right. Oh, awesome. We were talking about Javi Povas earlier. Seems like a really great guy.
Yeah, in fact, we are now in his house. He gave us, gave us his department here in Madrid to stay, because it's a lot of, it's very expensive to rent a hotel or things like that. And our conference is just, for the cost. It's not for. It's very difficult. We only put, $15 the ticket price. just for covering the flight tickets and the rent of the the place and things like that. So we don't have if we don't have the help with from another people to, for example, give us the houses to stay and things like that, will be impossible to achieve this kind of conference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing great work. There's a lot of coverage coming out about that soccer team, or football club, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. He invited also, some media from more radio than television, and it's gonna come also another TV show, but that TV show is this kind of show television show, like
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel, things like that. But everyone is welcome, because for us it's more publicity, it's more be in the big screen. Well, not the big screen, but the television, and it's minute on the air. So after all, they are trying to debunk us with that method. It's not working.
It's gonna lose. Yeah, they're bound to lose.
No, that's awesome. Glad he gave you a place to stand. We were talking about Coco Basile, right? And we were talking about that a little bit earlier.
Basile? Yeah. Well, yes. He is not going to stay. He's not going to come to the conference for business. For business thing. But we are very, very glad about this interview that we had yesterday, because it's a very important. It's called For, the name of the TV channel, and it's it's national television, and the program is like a primetime program, and dedicate about 1 hour with like I said before, with respect, with very nice climate. You
did it already.
About make fun of us. They are still working on it.
Right. But you gave lots of interviews with details and information and stuff.
Yeah. And in fact, we talk about Freemasonry, Jesuits, New World Order, vaccination. It's not just a point of view from the flat Earth, but also because of course the typical question is, and who is behind, and why they are going to lie us, things like that. So we want to, if you want the answer, the response, I'm going to tell you what we think and what we research. And of course, here in Spain, in Madrid, as every country out there in the occidental part of the world, is controlled by Freemasonry. So we don't know how it's going to end, the final editing of the TV program, but we record ourselves the complete interview, just having
just in case,
in the backup way. Nice. Like safe mode, But at least the journalist that make us the interview, he told us you can talk about whatever you want. You don't have any restrictions, and that is a good start point.
And they're gonna do a 1 hour special.
1 hour special, yes, exactly. And it's going to be showing national television.
And they're also coming tomorrow to cover some of the conference.
Yes, they are going to cover the complete conference. Of course, they're gonna pick and choose what they need to finish the program. But they are going to also interview people and the usual stuff. But with this nice atmosphere behind, a nice approach, exactly.
Yeah, they're not coming at you and yelling at you or anything. They're letting you have a say.
No, exactly. And really, I believe for the, if you want to call movement, and especially in Spanish language, I believe it's the most important piece of propaganda, quote unquote, for us, because 1 hour on national television on Spain, We are not talking about in Colombia, you know. We are talking about one of the biggest cities of the world. So that is very, very, you know, important.
Right, and but everybody's going to be talking about it, obviously, because it's primetime TV, and
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like something complementary to the the Flat Earth Football Club. We use that for trolling the system, and it's working. So it's like a complementary thing, you know. In fact, in the conference itself, it's gonna Javi Pobes is going to present the Flat Earth Award that he won in the last conference in Dallas, and he also gonna give like a short speech, and he's going to introduce to the public and of course to the media the team himself, you know, for the people give applause and you know.
Hey, you know, Ira, a thing that would be good to find out is if they have a website or something where people can pick up shirts and jerseys and things like that, because I think it's something people would support.
Yeah.
I know for me, I would buy a jersey just to support the team and to, you know, wear it around town and everything and just get people thinking and seeing. So it'd be great. I don't even know where I would begin to search for that. So if you could ever get a website where those things are available for people to purchase, I think that would be help to put it out there.
Yeah, in fact, it's Flat Earth. I'm gonna, you know, copy and paste and right
Okay.
now to the chat section because they also have in English. It's just Flat Earth Football Club. If you type that on Google, it's going to give you the first URL. It's going to be the actual official site. You can choose English and you can buy, you know, like you say, wait, jersey? Is it
Jersey, yeah.
In English?
Jersey.
Jerseys. You can buy
Maybe a hoodie or something.
scarf, and you can make like a partner for $10. I believe it's $10 per year, not per month.
Gotcha.
It's like contribution, you know, because everything is self
Funded, yeah.
yeah, it's self-funded, exactly. And you know, we are in third division, which is the first step of official division, but you don't receive any money from external partners, you know, like television, things like that. It's very hard to achieve things like that. And I believe
sponsorship. Are they looking for it? Do they have anything in that regard?
Yes, but a lot of people, a lot of companies, they don't want to sponsor a Flat Earth team.
Right, of course not.
That's why he's a little worried about the financial situation of the Flat Earth Football Club.
Okay, I found it. It's flatearthfc.com.
Yeah, exactly. And you can choose there the language, and you know, if you want to support the team, it will be super great. But you know, the conference is like the conference in the United States. It's about you know, you know, meeting people, stay together again, because of course this is our third conference in 1 year. We did 2 in Barcelona and in January and then in June, and now this is the third one. Of course, it's in 2020, but it's you know, 6 months later. And but this is the first one in Madrid for 500 people, and it's made on the place on theater, which is called the Press Palace, and it's like a super official, you know, theater. It's in the middle of the city. Was really expensive to us for us to rent that place.
This place is smack in the middle of the whole, because Madrid, Jaron, if you remember, like when you went to Amsterdam, you know, it was like full of people, and you know, some of the buildings are big, but when you go to Madrid, it is the center of the Spanish, you know, thing, in the country. So you have these massive buildings, official buildings, is super sort of grandiose, you know, some of it. So it's quite important. And Ido is saying the theater is right smack in the middle of very important areas there.
Oh, nice.
So it's quite official, and so it's a historical place, Iru.
Yes, it's a historical place. And first, let me just say sorry for my audio because I am using the webcam microphone.
Sweet! I'm on their website. I'm stoked. I didn't know that. Under friends, there's my my
of course,
channel.
man. Because
I'm a friend of the team already. All right,
all of
great.
you from my webpage. You are also in my webpage as Globebuster, Rodrigo, everything. So the guy, remember that the president of the team of the club is our friend.
Good.
So that is why
I need to join. I didn't know there was a service for joining to be part of a member. So I need to do this. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, now you know. But I'm referred to. Yeah, the place is very important place. It's one of the most important place here in Madrid to make a conference or give movies, that kind of stuff. So it's like I told you before, we just cover the expenses, the cost. Yeah, for the whole complete conference. But we have the opportunity to do in more cheap place, more outside of the city, but it's not going to have the same impact that we want to have. So right now, at least, we have these two media TV companies that are going to come to the conference. One is for get fan of us, and the other is for more important. It's more for making this not documentary, but this special TV show with respect and things like that. So at least we have the full room because we have almost 450 people right now, and we achieved these two media to came for the conference. So the rest
would you say either that it's because Javi has been out because I see he's been on a radio and he's been on a number of programs, and I never seen him being attacked. It's always been very polite. And do you think that has led him to this? Because he's saying this is a pretty big deal that this program is going to do this.
Well, in fact, at the beginning of the year, when Javi announced the Flat Earth Football Club, he was invited to radio show, and in the radio show, the nice thing was that he's like a friend of the sport radio shows. Mm-hmm. But he also go to TV shows, and in the TV shows, he was very, very. He received a lot of aggressive treatment. Okay. It was not easy or just with maybe neutral kind of interview. No, it was in front of him. The same TV show trolling him. So was that
really almost like he's kind of with like a fun one of these like entertainment shows with people singing and something like this? Is that the one that you're talking about, where he was like in the middle of a bunch of people?
Yes, right. Yes, and in fact he won. He went like 4 times defending the Flat Earth himself. And remember, he's a guy who come from the soccer place. He's not like he knows a lot about the Flat Earth. In terms of the the theory in itself, but he's not like us. He has another responsibilities in terms of the job that he developed with the club, things like that. So he go to a lot of interview to defend the position, and he did really well. But when you are in the TV show and 5 people start laughing on your face, and that doesn't allow you to speak or to expose your point of view, things like that, of course it is impossible to to make some sense sense talk.
Much more difficult, yeah, of course. Yes. And you had some similar kind of situations, or no? You've been, I mean, you bring posters
Yeah, in some TV programs and in two opportunities in radio show, they try to make that, but I don't allow it because I'm start like like a machine gun, start to dropping words and start, maybe you need to, impose yourself, make a little louder your voice and start saying, okay, curve me the water, show me the curve, and you stay in that position and you don't move. So the guy in front is like start getting fear,
Yeah.
So that's all, guys. I don't want to interrupt the show, so I'm gonna just bring the news and I hope everything's go fine tomorrow. I'm going to record a few things and then send you to the Globebuster show, and then I'm going to record something on the match itself because we have people here that speak English. So of course we're going to try to bring some interviews or some words from the people here in Spain, and
And you have to be there early in the morning?
Yes, 9 in the morning to 3 p.m.
9 in the morning is start, so you have to.
Yeah, I know myself. I going to join with the pilot to give just for make comfortable. I don't know how to pronounce that word. For making itself feel comfortable.
Right. Comfortable.
To get used to the place.
Comfortable, exactly. And then my speech it's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And it's about the NASA Bluebeam project, of course, in related with the flat Earth and a few other topics.
Fantastic.
Right. Awesome. And it's awesome that you get to go to a game. When's the game? Tomorrow as well?
It will be supposedly everything was planned to, after the conference, go to the soccer match because it was be about 6 p.m.
Okay.
But the official authority of for the football institutions, they changed to Sunday 11 a.m.
Okay.
I know that there is going to be a few people that they are not stay 2 days here in Madrid because it's expensive and it's coming, to fill a room with 500 people. Of course, it's not coming from Madrid itself. They are coming all over the place from Spain.
Right.
So maybe a few people are going to lose the match. But, I hope we maybe going to be like 200 people in the field.
Okay.
And of course, for a team in third division, it's like in the world soccer match, something like that, because they never receive more than 20-30 people person in the match.
Well, all I can say is that good luck to them, and they are by far my favorite soccer team.
Me too, man.
There's not even a close second. I probably couldn't even name a second. I don't know. Liverpool. There's one.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. So no, that's awesome. Great. I'm excited for them, and hopefully they can keep building on that. And you guys have a great conference. This image here, Ira, that I was showing earlier, is this the pilot that will be speaking, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. One is the pilot, and the other one is I don't know which is the name of the guy who the
co-pilot
on board. La azafata,
Navigator.
He's a
Assistant?
flight tender.
attendant,
Okay.
flight attendant.
Oh,
Flight
gotcha.
attendant. Yeah, exactly. The guy with the white T-shirt is the flight attendant, and the other is the pilot.
Oh, cool.
And of course, that picture for me it's invaluable. I mean,
Yeah,
two
so
people
cool. I love it.
inside of a commercial plane.
I know. I show it often.
Doing
I think
that.
it's hilarious. Talk
Yeah,
about
it's too provocative,
talk about trolling the system, and people like Wolfie who say there's no pilots that could ever believe the Earth is flat.
No.
Zero.
Yeah. Zero. Well,
several.
to the conference, it's gonna came 3 pilots.
Right.
Only one is gonna give the lecture,
Right.
but it's gonna be 3 in the room
In
itself.
the room,
Yeah.
and you're probably gonna talk together later.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, of course. Yeah.
Well, great. Yeah, get some good video, and can't wait to see your presentation. Hopefully somebody translates for us. I just say do it in English. Make everybody there in Spain learn English. Just do it in English.
Yeah, in real time. They're gonna learn very quickly.
Yeah. Figure it out.
That's why we have Rodrigo for this
Thank you.
occasions.
Rodrigo can do that for us. Rodrigo, another translation event under your belt here.
Well, that it happened to me when I was speaking in Portuguese in Spain. They had to get a translator on stage as well because he wouldn't. Ido was like, yeah, but nobody else
could follow. I thought it was close enough that maybe you'd get it, but all right,
I get most of it, but still, if you get a Spanish person that speaks English, boom.
And it looks like I showed this image earlier, but it looks like David Weiss already has his gear. Of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a Jew, man.
Oh, should I bring up that image too? Let me see if we can bring this image up. This is great.
That's the best one. That's the best.
So good.
Oh, that's too funny. All right, we won't show that for very long. But it's a good
one.
So,
I'm going to go to rest.
That should be his Christmas card.
Almost 11 p.m.
All right,
Rodrigo knows very well. And tomorrow we're going to wake up very early in the morning, and we have like a full day,
Well, thanks for jumping on.
Awesome.
No, man, please.
And then you go back to Switzerland?
Going to be like 10 days, 2 weeks more in Switzerland.
Awesome.
So, of course, you are invited, man.
Like if you've seen the size of the belly that Luisa's carrying around.
Maybe you must stay there. See you guys. Thank you.
Later.
See you later.
How far along is she, Rodrigo?
Not very far. It's getting pretty close, man.
Real close?
Maybe 2-3 months.
Oh, okay. Got you. Well, good luck with all that, of course. And let's see here. We had a couple super chats while we were away. I Am Lone Frog said, tap that like button, y'all. Spread the word. Very nice. Thank you. I Am Lone Frog. Jesse Ends with some Canadian money. Thank you very much for that. And Hendrik Alerts, as always, friend of the show. Hendrik, hope you're doing well. Let's see here. What were we talking about before? I think we were covering the moon nonsense, fake moon landing. So just to finish off that article that I've always thought was so funny is that, it's applying this technique to 4 real-life scenarios showed that had the moon landings been a hoax involving an estimated 411,000 people who worked at NASA, it would have been found out in 3 years and 8 months. That's ridiculous. It would have taken 3 years and 8 months for 411,000 people to keep a secret. So funny.
What is so annoying about this is that they think it is convincing that they can present some sort of stats, and then this guy can come up with some sort of mumbo-jumbo prediction, and people are like, woo, wow, this scientist showed that conspiracies can only be held if la 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 la.
And even his numbers don't even prove. And again, like you said, it's not even possible to do that kind of science. And he says here, but Dr. Grimes' calculations prove that such an elaborate plot would have been impossible to keep quiet. That's not proof.
That's not proof at all. They lie. That's that's a trick, right? What they throw a bunch of numbers and they're like, proof. No, that's not.
That's not proof. And people just need to think about that for a second. Any kind of scientific study on how long it would take to reveal a secret is impossible to conduct because any secret that has not been revealed is unknown. It's an unknown quantity. You could never do any science on that. How could you do any scientific study on an unknown quantity, which is how many secrets out there have been kept from people? How would you ever know? If somebody revealed that, the secret is no longer kept.
Man.
Right.
Thousands and thousands of people involved.
Right.
Some people don't even know about it now. I mean, how could that be an argument?
And it was purposely held from the public for the long. No, I was going to say it was purposely held from the public for the longest time, and then that's why when it started to come out, when it started to be revealed, that's why they had to immediately throw Werner von Braun on with Disney to show, oh well, this is a great guy. He's a great Nazi. Some Nazis are great. They want to teach your children. They are fantastic people.
But when did it actually come out? Like the Project Paperclip clip that the people started actually talking about it?
60s, 70s maybe?
But that's, really under the rug, right? Swept under the rug for the next few decades.
Yeah, and it had to be. I mean, I've shown, that video before where, the guy from the Justice Department or whatever says that if he was alive today, he'd be tried for war crimes. Because there's tons of evidence that he was in charge of or at least overseeing the deaths of slavery workers. And again, this is not extermination camps. By the way, I always like to point out that, about 6 or 7 trillion people died during the Holocaust, so that we don't get our channel shut down. But so we have to point that out. But as far as the slave labor, that is proven. These guys were being used to build rockets underground for this whole rocket thing. And if you didn't work fast enough, or you were starting to do some chicanery, they would hang you at the doorway. They would, hang 5 people every day. So, but anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, that's just
Awesome.
That's about it. So yeah, and then just it's nonsense. This whole article, like we said, is stupid. You can't say things like that. You can't say it's impossible when you wouldn't be able to do the science anyway. He says here, Dr. David Grimes says, I hope that by showing how eye-wateringly unlikely some alleged conspiracies are, some people will reconsider their anti-science beliefs.
Well, it's nothing to do with science. This whole entire idea could be refuted just by knowing how many people have military clearance or classifications in the military.
Yeah, it's the dumbest article ever.
No, but this guy, I mean, Oxford should kick him out. That's like, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Let's take a look at what he says again.
As far as that quote?
What does it say? That, well, essentially, eye-wateringly, like, what a terrible...
Yeah, I hope that by showing how eye-wateringly unlikely some alleged conspiracies are, some people will reconsider.
Two bad adverbs to try to create some sort of impression. And then the claim that if you question that a tent landed on the moon with hangers and duct tape and aluminum foil, then you're anti-science.
And it's so simple. Just go back to the moon. I mean, people need to just think of how we would have hotels and bases there, and how really it is true that if the moon were possible to land on, that would be the high ground of any military. You would want to have a base there, because you basically control the world from there. And if anything happened, as one of these meteorites hit the Earth, well, then humanity could survive because they were on the moon. You don't see any rush to get back there. I mean, I say 2024, it'll get pushed to 2028. Then they'll find, we're actually going to go to Mars. It's just going to keep going. It's been doing that since the 70s. So if at this point...
Yeah, but dude, no, exactly. Yeah. You can show the 1981 thing with the space shuttle going up, that I was looking at. That the whole propaganda film at the end, they say, and here it is when the shuttle lands, and here it is. The whole thing's a total joke, and they say, now it's routine access to space. It's like the one that has Ford with Jimmy Carter. That one that's hilarious. It's the same thing. Yeah, and the cure from cancer and all diseases and satellite technology. Yeah, it's gonna take
came from everything.
It's gonna take us. Yeah, it's gonna solve everything now. The cure to cancer. Like it's like they say the same stuff till now. It's crazy.
This is
right. And why is it 2020 and we're still shooting rockets anyway? I don't understand how that makes no sense to me.
The
Germans were experimenting with spacecraft, if you want to call it that, decades ago.
Right. The one technology that hasn't gone anywhere. Imagine that. It's like they can shoot things farther out into the ocean, I think, than they could a while back. They had to get past people's cameras and stuff.
It's kind of what Ido was showing the other day, that it is basically essentially a bunch of ballistic missiles bundled together with a capsule on top, which is like suicide. And they knew that, like when they were explaining even the beginning of the Apollo program and the shuttle, I think it was a shuttle that I was looking at, how the trembling alone would have killed anybody on, and even before they decide to put people, like the whole thing, when you watch these propaganda films, I recommend it. Go back and watch, Werner von Braun talking about the moon landings and any of the space shuttle things, because you catch so many lies. For instance, when they're coming back into the atmosphere, right? Now, of course, the atmosphere has been extended all the way through the moon, so I don't know how they can still have the re-entry kind of myth that you come back into and it's super warm and you get this intense heat and things can go bad. And they show from the inside the shuttle, they're like, oh, this is the moment of the re-entry. And you don't see anything. Nothing's happening. Some sort of high altitude footage, and that's it. And they cut everything, and at the end they tell you that you're going to be going to space very quickly in the next few years.
So sad. Yeah, the rest of this article is even dumber. It just goes on to be dumber and dumber. Talking about a number of
melting ice.
A number of conspiracy theories revolve around science. While believing the moon landings were faked may not be harmful, believing misinformation about vaccines can be fatal.
That's
So it says, however, not every belief in a conspiracy is necessarily wrong. Well, I hope not, because I've talked about it before. Everything is a conspiracy. If you really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, the price that you pay for gas is a conspiracy. The price that you pay for anything is a conspiracy. The prices charged at stores is a conspiracy. It's all multiple people getting together, coming up with something to basically make a profit off of you. That's a conspiracy. What, I mean, it's basically what it is. I mean, you don't know what the cost of gas for the gas station is. You don't know what the cost of items at CVS is.
Yeah, but essentially the companies that have the research behind closed doors and nobody can see, they have research secrets and trade secrets. What else is that? But people colluding behind closed doors and hiding from the public what they're doing. And that's totally allowed in the name of capitalism and selling things and making stuff, right? So
and they talk about, one realistic conspiracy is the NSA, as was revealed by Edward Snowden. But again, that because one person revealed it. Like, what if that one person didn't? Then there would be thousands of people who know. I mean, it's so stupid. It's just you can't do science like that anyway.
So they're saying that that's more credible because Snowden talked about it?
Yeah,
or no?
It says, where was I reading that? Let's see here. Where was that at? Now I lost where I was reading that. Oh, right here. It says, also require was realistic estimation of one individual disclosing a conspiracy. This was based on 3 genuine conspiracies, including the NSA Prism Project. I think it said something up here about Snowden, though. However...
when they don't have a chance to declare it genuine.
Yeah, when it's already been revealed, of course. I don't know. It's just such nonsense. The other thing I was reading the other day, I brought this up on my phone real quick. I get all these little alerts whenever something on Quora is in my little wheelhouse or whatever, something I might want to read. And I just love to read people's answers, and especially because these guys consider themselves professional. So let's listen to this question and tell me what you think the answer would be. It says, if the universe is infinite in extent, does that mean that the Big Bang was a local event? So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to read this answer. And it's answered by Jay Wacker, who is a researcher in particle physics and a cosmologist. Okay, so I'm like, all right, so this guy should know his stuff. He's a researcher in particle physics and a cosmologist. And he writes, the Big Bang doesn't exist, and it never existed. Nor do cosmologists believe it to have existed. The Big Bang is a point in time defined by a mathematical extrapolation. An analogy, I always want to say extrapolation, which is not the way the word is said. Extrapolation. He says, an analogy is knowing the rate of climb for a plane is 700 feet per second. If the plane is at an altitude of 7,000 feet, you can extrapolate to a point 10 seconds ago when the plane had an altitude of 0 feet. It doesn't mean 10 seconds ago that happened, or at 11 seconds ago the plane was 700 feet below the surface of the Earth. We just understand that the plane didn't climb to 700 feet per second for more than 10 seconds. This is exactly the same as the Big Bang. When physicists and cosmologists or astrophysicists speak about the Big Bang, they mean the era of Big Bang cosmology, which is a multi-billion-year era where the evolution of the universe... What? He says, so there is no point where the Big Bang was. It was always an extended volume of space. I just think it's so funny that it's constant nonsense like this. Other things that you see in Quora is you'll see, because this is just the worst thing that you can have for the internet, is a place where people can ask questions and then people who think they're experts come and answer, because the answers don't even go together. There's one that asked whether or not the flag from Apollo 11 is still on the moon. And would it be white? Oh, yeah. And the guy answers, no, of course not. There's no flag there. That every time the thing took off, the flag was blown over. So then the next person answers, and he's also a physicist or an astrophysicist, and he says, yes, all the flags are there. You can see them in the LRO footage. You can see the shadow of them. They're answered right on top of each other. It's like, well, which one is true? And then you go look at it, and I've seen both things. I've seen people say that the flags blew over and they're not there, and I've seen people say, oh, here's the LRO footage where you can see the shadow. But nobody cares. I think nobody minds that.
Some of the footage from the taking off from the moon lander shows a flag that's kind of being blown off. I don't know which one. There's one that shows from the inside, supposedly. I'm sure it's
so much nonsense.
How would it even blow the flag over if there's no medium to reciprocate the action? What am I missing?
That's the other part. It's the dust from the lunar landscape somehow in the vacuum of space doing its thing.
Oh, boy.
Magic.
So sad. So sad. But yeah, I love reading this stuff, and then the guys that when they read these answers, it's just such nonsense. It's like painful. You know, it's like, how do we know the universe is infinite? And then the answer comes out with the standard, simplest cosmological model, the Friedman, Lemaitre, Robertson, Walker model of a cosmos is like, what are you talking about? You can't just make shit up. It's like the model yields the so-called Friedman equations, an application of Einstein's field equations that describes, like, okay, let's talk about math. And then people just realize that and read that and go, oh, must be true. You know?
Yeah, I can't do the math, so this must be what it is.
Right. It's so easy to convince people.
I think most people actually will look at this and say, you know, this is some mumbo jumbo. I think most people, but then the ones who think that they're really smart, and that's what the one that thinks that they're really smart, they think, oh, you know, you have to understand the math, and if you don't do the calculations, you never get it. And, you know, I'm special because I can get it.
And I've read about it. I've read my astrophysicist book. I've read, you know, I've gotten A's and B's. I've got my degree, and therefore I know all the answers. And who are you to ever question it? And again, you know, any kind of breakthrough is going to come from people that don't have that kind of mentality, to me. Yeah. And I've never claimed that I get everything right. I never claim that I know the answer to everything. In fact, I don't know, and that's why I ask questions, which is part of science. It's really asking questions. So it's so funny when you get somebody like David Grimes say, you know, I hope that by showing how eye-wateringly unlikely these alleged conspiracies are, people will reconsider their anti-scientific belief. Asking questions is not anti-science. That is science. That is what science is. Asking questions.
Exactly. So, this is just insane. Like the idea that by questioning one or another piece of evidence, which is a moon landing, which is something that only has one source of evidence. It's not scientific at all. It's not the science making cars or pianos or engines or electricity. And so, you know, this guy is trying to say that if you question this one thing, you're anti-science. I mean, that's just completely incoherent, and it is a persecution of people who may question this. And, you know, it just should have immediately destroy this guy's credibility in his career. You know, it's not someone who you can take seriously who says something like this.
I've said it before, that if somebody says to me that, hey, they've driven a Geo Metro from California to Hawaii, that if I start questioning that, I'm not questioning the creation of cars. I'm not doubting whether or not you have somebody in your family that worked on the muffler of that Geo Metro. That's not what I'm questioning. I'm questioning the feasibility of the entire thing that you're stating. I'm not questioning science when I say, oh, I don't think that your car can drive from California to Hawaii. I think there's a lot of issues with that. That's not questioning science. It's not questioning the creation of a car. It's not questioning the people across the country who make cars. It's not questioning I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm simply saying that your claim seems to be false. And when you start looking at the idea of space and this vacuum, and it's a ever-present vacuum where speeds really don't exist. You're just out there flying. How do you calculate speed in space? You really can't. You have to have a ground to measure speed by. It's distance over time. Well, what's the distance? I don't really know. How are you figuring out the distance? You're not. It's just so much nonsense that I'm able to say, I don't think you went there. Based on the evidence that you've shown me, I don't think you flew your Saturn V to space. Now, to the moon. Now, what is
one thing they say, for instance, in the 1981 video when they returning with the space shuttle and going through the reheating, right? The re-entry part that he heats to whatever levels. You know what they say in this video? They say that there are no laboratories on Earth capable of testing the conditions that would happen in that moment, and therefore they only had calculations, and therefore the calculations had to work, and the calculations worked, and that's it. They had no way of simulating or testing this before they flew it, and they did the reentry themselves. So yeah, they tell you in your face, and they don't show you the thing heating up. Right, no. It's just and
so
it's staring in your face. It's crazy that we didn't see it way back.
We could listen to. I was just gonna say we could listen to Neil deGrasse tell us this, and then really think about what we talked about today.
Have you really thought about what it would take to fake a moon landing? Because the rocket did launch. We all saw the rocket launch. Okay, so there's hardware there. They're like office buildings of blueprints for the design of the Saturn V rocket.
All missing.
The hundreds of engineering hours that went behind this and the records of those designs. If you wanted to fake the moon landing,
no,
you would have to fake all of these documents.
No, it wouldn't.
No.
You just have to pretend you're designing. When I was a kid, I used to design, all kinds of flying machines. I used to do the blueprints and stuff. You can buy the models from all the Star Wars fleet.
Right.
Every single ship they've ever made. You can buy the model. You can build it. What?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could build those things. They have all the pieces. And again, this is the same thing. Is that you could tell me, oh, we saw the Geometro drive off into the ocean. It was heading in the direction of Hawaii. It had a gas tank filled with enough gas to get it to Hawaii, Jaron. So why would you doubt that Geometro can go to Hawaii?
Or the jump room to Mars, right? The David Wilcock gloves.
Right, jump room.
It's way easier to just go to the moon.
I see somebody. It's way easier, Jaron, to just drive to Hawaii than it is to fake it or tell you that they went when they couldn't. It's like, no, it's not. What you're claiming is something we're claiming is impossible.
Has anyone considered that?
Now, again, in his background, in his studies, in his education, he is already, people who think that they're smart will never go looking for the answers to things that they're...
Man.
Well, again, he's not going to go looking for the answer to this question because to him it's insane. Of course you can go to the moon. So what he's saying is it's just easier to go to the moon than it is to fake it. But we're saying, no, what if it's impossible to go to the moon? Now, to him, that's ridiculous because everything he's been taught is this moon. It appears to go this way. It actually goes this way. It's this distance. It's 2,000 miles in diameter.
And then they destroyed the technology so they couldn't go there.
Right. And then he says there's warehouses full
years.
of the documents for the Saturn V, yet there is nobody who can reassemble the lunar lander because all those documents are missing. Same thing with the telemetry.
That's what you do when you do very important historical technology.
Not very important.
You just destroy it later and you start from scratch, right?
And it's the most important thing. And this is why I can't wait. By the way, I got my stickers for my microphone, so now I'm ready to go out on the street. Probably going to do that next week, go to San Francisco and do some street interviews. But I can't wait to ask people about whether or not they think that we went to the moon or why they think that. Now I lost my train of thought. What were you saying right before that? I was going to say something about what I was going to, then I got on my microphone thing. Way to go, brain.
I'm trying to understand. Like, his main argument here is, well, they built a rocket. Like, okay, so I'm gonna build a magnifying glass that can see fairies. So as soon as I make the magnifying glass, that means I saw fairies definitively.
Right.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And again, if you were making that claim and then you say it would be easier to build a magnifying glass and see fairies than to fake it. It's like, wait,
no,
what?
And what is hilarious about this, like I'm saying, just go back and then you get this, Werner von Braun talks about 1969, explaining the Apollo program. And he's just quoting science fiction all the time.
Right.
It's the foundation of it, science fiction. And then you have Jack Parsons that they never talk about. And Hubbard that has a space scam religion. Literally, it's space scam mythology through
the whole
and through.
thing. And think how much money that thing's brought in.
Why does it still exist? It's a total scam. It's a joke. It's
Absolute
incredible.
Scam. No, luckily there's some shows on that coming out about what they do to people. I mean, it's all brainwashing. It's just ridiculous. It's
nuts. Have you seen the people, the survivors from Scientology and stuff?
Yeah, I watched that one series about it. I can't remember the name of it. I can't even remember the girl's name. That she's from that show King of Queens.
I don't know. There's a bunch of people that have come out over time from Scientology and talk about what happens inside. And there's a bunch of these documentaries, and it's all pretty fucked, I guess.
I think this is a great question for Austin more than myself because I don't think people like my answer to it. But Shino by Snacks One said, "Is there a video that explains why you accelerate as you fall? If gravity is a myth, why do things accelerate as they fall?" I think Austin, I've liked the way that he said it, best. Especially he talked about it in his Unplugged from the Box episode 1. For me, my stupid answer would always be that if something falls, I kind of call it momentum. That because it's going a certain speed, it's got to build its speed. I've described it before as putting a car on a hill headed downwards, and if that car starts rolling, it has to be going faster in second 2 than it was in second 1. Now again, the reason for that, according to Austin, would be I'll let him tell you. But I actually kind of agree with what him and Bob have been proclaiming. I certainly think that relative density alone could be the reason for all this stuff, or it could explain it. But the fact is, when anybody asks me, why does it go down? My answer would always be, oh, well, it has to go in some direction, and whatever direction it goes in would be down. That's a little bit iffy. I'll even admit that myself. It's easier to explain, or it's easier to understand if you really think that there is a something setting the downward direction. And then based on that, relative density works from there. Did I get that right? And that's, basically incoherent dielectric magnetism. I'll let you kind of give your answer, Austin.
Yeah, pretty much. The relative density is the primary factor, but there is a magnetic relationship with anything with matter. So it's just a super, 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 super weak force, if you want to call it that. It's actually just an effect. And so it's called, incoherent dielectric acceleration or incoherent magnetism. But the important part is just the incoherent. So it just means it's really, 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 really weak. The Earth is giant mass, and as you increase the incoherent mass, it gets weaker. So it's basically negligible, but it creates a constant when combined with the density relationship.
It's not going to place planets in orbits of suns. It's not going to, basically explain the gravity that they have taught you about. That somehow
it's preposterous, and it also isn't going to bend oceans.
No, and hold them upside down and all that fun stuff. No. So, I agree with that. I think that, like I said, I used to just say, oh, well, it has to go in some direction, and whatever direction it went in would be down. But in that explanation, it certainly works for me that there's something setting the down direction. So that's why I don't think that we have, it's just like, hot flows from hot to cold. Pressure goes from high to low. Dense, denser than less dense goes down. Less dense in a denser medium would rise. Some things just are, some things just do. And for me, if there's an explanation for that, or if you can say, okay, well, the reason for that is this incoherent magnetism, or I think it's described better as disorganized magnetism, is everywhere. And if it's a very, very, very weak force, that could set the down direction, and then you have relative density that sorts it from there. So that's why I would think you accelerate when you fall. I don't think that it's due to a pulling nature. I don't think there's anything pulling anything. When you hold an apple up, to me, and it's just, again, this is just my stupid senses. If I pay no attention to the fact that they need gravity to make their Earth a ball, that they need gravity to explain everything in their model, to me, the only thing that's taking this apple in a downward direction, to me, feels like the mass of the object is the denseness of its object in a less dense medium of air. Put this apple into a thing of water, and everything changes. Why? Because you've now introduced a more dense medium than the apple, which I don't even know.
Exactly. And that's why, a helium balloon rises. So there is no, it doesn't even matter. Really, what we call gravity is basically negligible. All it does is kind of create a constant that we measure in these small windows. But you're exactly right. It's just the density.
And then I wonder why, so it's like complete opposite, and this is the whole thing, what I always say, everything that they say is opposite, right? They turn everything upside down. Because I think I agree with you that it's so funny that it works on a very, very small scale. It's a very, very weak force, but somehow they blow it up and say it doesn't have any effect on the micro, but only has effects on the macro.
This is one of the things that's very weird, Jaron. Like, how does it only affect certain kinds of things? Also, one thing that we don't know is how fast does really helium rise? Something's accelerating down. Does it accelerate when it goes up? Yeah, we don't know the answer to this. Like, if you're down
That'd
under
be a great
the
test.
water,
I've thought about that. It'd be a great test if you could, for instance, release the helium out of a balloon and then calculate if it rises at a constant speed or if it builds some sort of momentum or increases in its acceleration on the way up. I don't think you can do that test.
Yeah, what's going on there? We don't know. And that, for me, there's something with the polarity and the magnetism, the electricity of the whole realm and where we are that keeps attracts us in one direction, but also in what they call gravimetry, or the study of measuring gravity, which is a whole field in, I think, is geology. there was a Brazilian geologist who was talking about this. They have different anomalies and different readings depending on different altitudes in different places. Like they don't have an exact constant. And it's told you have this, neat calculation that, some number that really seems to describe it. When you try to test it, it doesn't, apparently it varies. That's the incoherence part. But then there's these things that go up, and that's, for me, there's always been kind of a problem. Exactly as you're saying, it would be very interesting to see, what's the rate of these things going up and how these things, how everything goes up, whatever that goes up, goes up. It has to be inside a medium. So certain things, I guess, they're just slightly denser than the medium they're at. They'll probably fall in a slower rate than, things that are lighter, submerged in a medium. That they're not lighter, but not so much. They probably rise slower. But maybe there's the other problem. If your medium is very, very dense, so say thinking about bubbles of air inside honey, they take a while to push up because of the viscosity of the honey.
Right.
So there's so many factors at play. And the math we've inherited from these models is very simplistic always. So it really generates kind of
totally simplistic.
This problem of the reduction of complexity, which is kind of a fallacy. But yeah.
Oh, we'll talk about reduction of complexity. Have you seen these videos of why doesn't it's so funny. The title of it is "Why Doesn't the Moon Fall to Earth?" Right. So, and it's just classic. I love these ones. This is where they have the fabric of space-time. So now they've convinced this poor child. They've convinced this poor child that this is the fabric of space-time, even though space has no fabric. There's nothing there. You're saying that something is a vacuum, but then now you're describing it as this is what they get away with. We'll describe it as a fabric. Well, yeah, you can describe it as a fabric. It doesn't mean that it has properties of a fabric. And let's hear what she's got to say here.
How objects move around massive objects like the moon around the Earth, or the Earth around the sun.
Look at these poor people's faces. Like, oh.
All right, this is space.
This is space, she says.
Planet.
This is space.
But space is nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. But here's space. Oh, look at these marbles roll off the side.
What path does it take across there? Is it straight or is it curved? You want to try?
You want to try? Go ahead. Yeah, it's straight.
Okay.
There you
now
go.
Let's take a star, like the sun. All right?
This girl's face.
And let's put it into space over there.
Okay. Wow.
What happens to the fabric of space?
Oh, that proves it.
It dips, you bet.
It dips.
Now let's move a planet.
Thank you,
through this
Einstein.
area of space.
You want to try? Let's see what happens.
Go ahead.
And
What
the
happens
question
to it
is,
now?
why doesn't the moon fall to the Earth? And here's the thing. Well,
Is
there
it
it
still
falls to the
going in a
Earth.
straight line?
No, it goes around.
It
Oh, it goes around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look at it.
But then it stops.
And then it stops. It hits the inner thing.
Escape from
The other thing they'll never show is like if you put a marble in orbit of the sun, why can't you put another marble in orbit of the little marble? Right? You should have the moon be able to act. They'll never show that. So,
Yeah. Want to try?
Want to try this? Well, oops! You threw it too fast. Like that. See, this is really teaching this child.
How fast did we need to try and push this planet to make it get out of there? Faster or slower than to put it into
Holy
orbit?
smolies!
Well, that's faster, right?
Faster.
Okay. So the
Slower.
Earth orbits the sun because space is curved.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. What is curved? Nothing is curved? Oh, I love it. The vacuum is curved. What does a vacuum consist of, Jaron? Oh, nothing. So the nothing curves? Yes. The nothing curves.
Give him a Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, what? My bad. I'm so sorry, Karen B. Everyone's so mad because we didn't show any of that on the screen. See, don't take lessons from me, Austin. You have to always make sure that what you're showing the audience is what you're looking at on your own damn screen. Sorry, guys. God, I don't want to show it all again. Anyway, this is I feel bad. People are turning off the show, pissed now. Anyway, we were watching this lady explain to these poor people. Anyway, so they got over there. Of course, they showed the marbles going into the other marble.
Can you make it escape?
Now they're escaping. Let's see, where were we? There we
It's
go.
a classic magic trick by now. There's so many versions of it with the trampoline.
Yeah.
You know, what if
Now,
if
why
it,
does the
you know, it
moon
falls into this
orbit
trampoline
the
of
Earth?
space, and can it propel it up? You know, because it's a fabric of space. Does it bend the other way? What happens when you relieve the gravity and the mass? You know,
So bad.
wow, maybe it's a multiverse problem,
Oh,
eh?
look at that,
Maybe
see?
we can get a whole universe named after ourselves.
I
That'll
still
be
love
easy.
that it's called "Why Doesn't the Moon Fall to the Earth?" and yet in every single example, the marble falls to the inner marble. Like you're not explaining anything.
Earth, too.
So funny.
How fast objects move through space due to gravity, and how much space is curved at any point
Boy.
depends on two things.
And then, I've heard them describe the same test, or where they describe a black hole. Have you heard that one? Where if you picture this rock here, or whatever this marble is here, this giant ball, if you picture an infinite density, but it's got no physical quality, so they describe it as, okay, let's say you get a grain of sand, but the grain of sand has a infinite density. So it's almost like when they say a neutron star weighs, a teaspoon of neutron star weighs 22 billion pounds, which is the dumbest thing. There's nothing.
Just make that shit up.
You just make it up. There's no teaspoon of anything that could ever weigh 22 billion pounds unless you're into math. If you're into math, then you can say, okay, let's pretend that this little teaspoon here
compress
has
anything into anything.
Sure.
It can make it into a point.
Great.
It can make the Big Bang, of course.
Of course, and that's all that they're doing is they're saying basically there's a point. If you imagine this little yellow ball here, and you say it has infinite density and has no visible mass, then it would just create such a hole in this fabric of space that everything would fall into it, but you can't see it because it's infinite mass. It's so stupid. Oh boy.
So when their thing fails, then it's a black hole.
Well, it's just mathematics, right? I mean, you have to have these points out there because all their numbers are so destroyed and so garbage that they have to make things up and just say, okay, well, the reason we're not seeing as much mass as we need here, and it's this whole idea of dark matter, right? And they're not seeing anything that their model calls for. So what did they do? They created 96% of it and said, oh, well, it's just something we can't see. Well, what do you mean? How can 96% of the observable universe be unobservable? It doesn't even make sense.
Closer.
Slower.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right.
Let's make the star here the sun. Let this marble represent Mars, and this marble represent Earth.
It's so bad. I just always see these little videos,
Now,
and it's
how
like,
long does it really
We're
take
literally
the
watching
Earth to go around the
Brainwash.
sun
oh
once?
yeah,
How long
this
does
poor
it go?
child.
365 days.
It'd be great if we could find this child and he's now a flat earther. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, for real.
Find out who this kid is. It looks like it's long enough ago, or maybe it is short time period. I don't know.
And
It's
you
just so
saw
funny. I mean,
that
this
Mars
is,
traveled more slowly.
and in order for this whole thing to exist, you have to have put a fabric to space.
And on the dark matter stuff, right?
Yeah.
That is just such a red flag. It's so massive, because when they come up with this, they say nothing of what we've been saying for the last 500 years makes any sense. Everything just doesn't fit what we observe. Therefore, we invented this thing, which is holding it together, which is the whole, how bad our theory is, and we just make some stuff up that makes it work. That's it.
Yeah, like for 500 years we were wrong, but please keep listening to us.
Yeah.
I love it. I just noticed that this picture behind her of this, whatever this is, stars or something. I don't know. But then the scene changes. It's gone. It's like, nah, we don't want that up anymore. Did they move this one too? Because there's some nebulae or something here. Yeah, I think they move it. And the next scene's gone. That's funny.
I mean, very simply, space is literally nothing. It isn't a cooking pot with a fabric and a bungee cord.
No, and yet this is how they have to explain it, and people are just so in awe. People just love to know how something works, and so if you can give them some dumb thing like this, they're just like, yes, that's it. I understand space now. I understand planet orbits. I understand why doesn't the moon fall to Earth? What do you mean? In every example you just showed, it clearly does. And then the other thing is with this, well, the reason they'll say it is they'll say, oh, well, this fabric here creates friction, which is why the thing slows down and hits here. And then they'll say, but in space, there's no friction. So it's like, well, hold on a second. I thought this thing represented space. the fabric represents space. So now you're saying that there's a non-fabric and non-friction that operates like a fabric. I can't even say it. I can't even follow it. I'm like, wait, what? It just makes absolutely zero sense. So I always see these little things.
And then the space that they present now is clouds of dust and all this other stuff floating in the vacuum.
Well, maybe this guy explained. I didn't see him at the end. Does he explain?
Absolutely.
Notice that if we have a large planet orbiting a small star, the star noticeably moves too. All massive objects exert the force of gravity on their surroundings. This is one way NASA scientists and others detect planets around other stars.
That's so funny. That goes in line with what we were watching earlier, right? The wobble of the middle. So, like, notice that this middle thing wobbles, and that's why they can stand some hundreds of trillions of miles away, and they can detect the blip from the starlight. Okay.
Yeah, but shouldn't that be making the sun wobble in all kinds of different directions because of the planets moving in different directions, attracting the sun, Jupiter and so on. It should cause the Earth to move out of his position as well.
They should all, right? I mean, picture all kinds of different planets out here all orbiting together, and then they all have little moons that are orbiting within their little. It's so stupid. It would all throw it off of whack, especially when you have something like Jupiter.
Yeah, the only thing that works really is that what we see with the superconductors and magnetism, that we can keep the track of objects going around in an orbit and on in a track, right, in a magnetic track.
Austin, let me ask you this, or even Rodrigo, but I just have never been explained this well. So I don't understand why planets like Jupiter, which has the most gravity of any planet, right, or whatever, would have the biggest pull. Why it only can attract gas, and why other planets like Earth would attract matter.
Well, they say that Jupiter attacks comets and stuff. They had that. They had.
But it never builds. It never builds like a. Never builds a base. It never builds a kind of planet out of it because it's just all gas.
Now they're claiming that they're seeing under it and that there might be mass.
Oh boy!
Now they're making that claim.
Yeah. Well, of course, they're claiming that now.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It's like I've always, made the comment that it's like as if each planet kind of raised their hand at the beginning of time and said, like Earth said, "Okay, I'll attract all the matter," and then Mars said, "Okay, I'll attract some matter out here too," and then Saturn and Jupiter said, "No, we only want gas. We're just going to attract gas. We'll just be a giant gas ball." And we'll leave the matter to you guys. It's so stupid.
Don't they even tell the story that I think is Neptune, that the atmosphere freezes and then falls all the time, or something like that. They have all kinds of stories that they tell about even these exoplanets. They have all sorts of stories, and those posters that they produce with JPL that you looked into, the space tourism, exoplanet tourism. They make stuff up. Yeah, it's part of the storyline. You make up the exoplanet, and then you come up with all the characteristics. The artists then make the posters. It's just propaganda. The whole thing is just a story.
Somebody told me, thank you for the super chat from Joy Nichols, who said to Google SPCE stock. I had no idea what that meant, but then I do see that it's Virgin Galactic's stock. Looks like it didn't do anything for, let's go to 1 year. Looks like it was stuck at $10, $10, $10, $10.50, $10.30, $10.30, and then over the past, since December, so in the last month, it's doubled.
Oh, deception impending.
Yeah, exactly. What's coming, right? Oh, boy, we can finally... why Virgin Galactic stock gave back 10% this morning? Speculative space stock Virgin Galactic is up 170% in 2 months. Yeah, speculative.
Commercial spacecraft. Can we get the top level intel agencies there first?
And it's really. And again, I don't know how many times I have to describe it. This is just reverse bungee jumping, right? In a bungee jump, you stand up high, you jump, and the cord expands, and then you come back, right? It's just the opposite. I'm going to throw this person as high up in the sky as I can, and then they'll come down. You can launch a rocket as high as you want up into the sky, and they'll go up there, and then if you open up your wings, which is what this little craft does, it opens up its little fins, its little wings, and then it will float down. And then people inside there will float around for like 45 seconds. That's it. That's why it's called suborbital launches. It's not even going to space. And again...
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was actually claiming to be a future plan to go to space.
No, I don't even think they've never said that I've seen. I mean, well, that's not true. Virgin Galactic has said before that there'll be hotels in space. I mean, this guy is just on one. And I mean, supposedly, I don't know.
It's going to be some sort of parabolic flight, right? They're going to pretend that they're going to release the people as it falls, and they're going to experience 0G and whatever.
They fly up as high as a plane can go. I don't know, 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet, whatever. And then they shoot a rocket out from under it. The rocket goes up as high as it can, and then floats down on like little wings. And the sad thing is that they've sent this craft up there only like 10 times, and they've already killed 4 people. So if people want to invest their stock in that. That's literally the truth, that they've killed 4 people and probably launched 10. I don't know. And then
didn't he sell a bunch of these tickets beforehand as well?
Right. I was going to say he charges $250,000 a ticket, and in all the articles that I've read, he said he has some 800 people that have paid. So do the math on that. So you've got 800 people that have paid $250,000. And they've already paid, so that's $200 million. That's pretty nice. You know how much money you make if you put $200 million in a high interest yield account? It just sits there for 10 years. I mean, what a scam. Wow. I mean, this guy is just
scam artist.
Right, and what is he doing?
Like Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah, and probably worse. But again, and he's got all these celebrities, right? Ashton Kutcher, Harrison Ford. All these people have supposedly paid for flights.
Harrison Ford. He was involved in some scams. Remember the airplane scam that he was involved in? They pretended to fall.
Oh, yeah, the one that he like crashed, landed or something?
Uh-huh. Yeah, he pretended to crash in an airplane. It was all a hoax to promote the film coming up. I don't know if it was Indiana Jones or whatever.
I know, but if I'm paying $250,000, I want to be in space in my Tesla convertible.
Great. Yes. It's so funny. One of the best things you can do is go to any kind of search engine. That's why I love Google so far, that at least you can go and search by time. Oh, I'm not showing the screen again. Don't want to piss people off. But it's fun to just search. Like I just searched Virgin Galactic hotels. But what you can do is then set your time. So, if you go Virgin Galactic hotels and go tools, anytime, change it to custom range, and just put in, I don't know, 2000 to 2005. Just if you want to see all the promises being made by this company and how they keep falling in anywhere. It says, here we go. This is 2004. When Sir Branson this week announced plans to enter space tourism with a company called, and then he'll go into, there'll be hotels and that they're going to have all this stuff. And then he'll tell you when they'll be there. Like, it'll be there in 2008. We'll have people going right here. Sir Richard is offering seats on his flights for $210,000 to include 3 days of training. And remember, this is 2004. For those who can't do math, that's 16 years ago. Okay, so it's quite a long time ago to just keep telling people how many. And I'd be shocked if this said he has that many people already. To include 3 days, about 3 minutes. So 3 minutes of weightlessness. Again, it's a glorified reverse bungee jump. Being the man that he is, Sir Richard has naturally talked about a space hotel and orbital flights leading one day to trips to the moon. He plans to start selling seats early next year, with the first flight to follow 2 years later.
Wow.
A little bit behind your schedule there. And what does he say? Well, space is hard, subject to regulatory approval. That looks like a powerful business logic, putting the getting before the spending. Virgin Galactic expects 3,000 rich people to sign up. And they may have that many. I don't know. You'd have to check the latest numbers. But it's great to search these things and then just change the date, to whatever. And you'll see it's like searching lettuce in space for NASA and see how many times they pull that one on you. It's like they keep coming. It's almost like they, recycle stories. It's just the same story again, and people just forget all about it. Have you seen the latest one? The latest one now is that NASA just cooked the first cookies in space. That just happened the other day.
What?
Yeah, it's so stupid. It's like, why is that important at all? It's like, Elon Musk sent up... I'll just look up, watch. Let me change the date to current because we're not going to see it anytime. And then we'll go NASA cookies.
my goodness.
Here you go. Right here. Astronauts baked cookies in a special zero-gravity oven at the International Space Station last month. Sealed in individual baking pouches, 3 of the cookies returned to Earth on the SpaceX Dragon. The AIM experiment was to study cooking options for long... So stupid. Space-based cookies. First baked in space by astronauts. Space-based cookies are now a thing, but they take 2 hours longer than on Earth. Who the F cares? NASA releases video of first space-based cookies. So stupid.
Can we get the first space-based 4K live stream? That's what we want.
You can't have that. You cannot have a video of Earth. We are baking cookies. We have a lot of important things going on here. We made space cookies.
It's like the cappuccino.
Oh boy, this is typical. Look at this typical of NASA right here. We made space cookies and milk for Santa this year.
Oh my goodness. Well, I saw they just had a stream from the International Space Station with talking to the international surf champion or something like this. And they had the jersey with the guy's name on it.
Oh yeah, it's just so stupid. Oh, there we go. There's your space cookie.
It looks awful.
Yeah, it looks terrible. There's never been an oven in space until now. Oh boy. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But the astronauts won't get to eat the fresh baked cookies. 3 of the chocolate chip cookies will get sent back to Earth for analysis. I think I read in some article it said they'll be sent to space. No, what was it? To scent and taste specialists. Is there such a thing as scent and space specialists? Oh my god, I'll just laugh my ass off.
It's like as if they're gonna be making amazing cookies in space, and you're gonna be buying them in the shop.
No, you're not. That's the thing. It's just so stupid. It'll never impact your life at all. But they can say these things, and people think all it does is reconfirm something's going on up there. Oh, okay. People are in space. NASA is sending cookies to space. Why NASA should bake cookies in space?
How is this even slightly important to space exploration?
It's not. What it is important to is to their PR image, and what they have is what's called press releases, right? NASA can just put out a press release, which is immediate. It's content for these news channels. And I'm talking about all these ones: Phys.org, Fox News, Insider, The Guardian, Space.com.
Yeah.
These places are dying for any content. So if NASA puts out a press release...
Space.com is a propaganda rag for them.
Absolutely. They just love it. So they don't care. I mean, this is why they put out something every day. This is why when it's Halloween that there has to be a jack-o'-lantern image of the sun, because all NASA needs to do is release a press release that says that, and all these channels pick it up. Why? Because these people make money off content, right? And people could say, oh, Jaron, you do the same thing. You're damn right. If I find this stuff, I'll make a video and make fun of it because that's what I do. So
and also, of course, cookies is the typical thing that's in every household in the United States. Everyone bakes cookies. Right. So, of course, that's...
And will this do anything for anybody? No.
Make that connection with the home. It's very important.
It won't do anything for anybody. It's so dumb. It's
they're coming into your home. It's essentially you letting them into your home.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, right? That's what the TV's been about from day one, is that
exactly
you can make people fear pain or feel pain. You can make people feel sympathy, empathy. You can make people feel afraid. I saw the news this morning talking about there's some outbreak in China. Have you heard all about this?
No.
Oh, there's this huge fear porn thing where you will go out today. I bet you everybody's wearing a face mask because there's some disease in China. It's like it's the latest story. I don't know what this is. China disease outbreak. It's called the coronavirus. China is locking down cities. They're building some hospital to, and they say it'll be built in a day or two. They're actually putting all this work into this hospital just to 830 confirmed cases, 26 people have died, 8,400 people are under observation. They've shut down the city. You can't go to the Great Wall of China right now. There's nobody at Disneyland. Disneyland closed. This is all 5 hours ago, and now there's people in the United States. And now watch how big this fear porn gets in the next coming days, because now there's been 2 confirmed cases in the United States. These people in China can't get face masks anymore. There's no more face masks left. There's a deadly virus spreading from state to state. I can't even believe shit like this is allowed.
There's 3 people.
There's 2 people in the country, and it says there's a deadly virus. I mean, talk about fear porn. It's so ridiculous, and people do not be afraid of this, okay? Please. It's just, you have to, and then, of course, what did I hear this morning? Oh, don't worry, they're working on a vaccine that'll be ready in a few months.
Exactly. They need you in this state of fear so they can come offer the solution.
Right. Oh, yeah, here comes daddy government to take care of you. Oh, boy, it's just so bad. Yeah, it's, so anyway, I just saw that news today. It's like, U.S. says do not travel to Wuhan, China. They're monitoring 63 additional patients. Yeah, I don't know. Just something that was the number one story on the news this morning. But again, don't fall for it. The great thing is if you at least watch the news, at least watch it with the with discernment. It's just talked about it a million times before, but there's people out there like my mother who used to watch it with whatever it said was the God honest truth. I got to go get my flu shot. News said today that I need to get it. I need to get a second one. It's hard, it's a big flu season. Jaron, aren't you worried about global warming? Isn't it going to, aren't the ocean levels rising? It's like, no, not that I've seen. Thanks, though.
Weren't we all going to die from Ebola a couple of years ago?
Right. Yep.
Right. Zika,
yep.
There's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I was going to show you, if you'd like to take a look, do you see a little bit more of space propaganda?
Sure, go ahead.
Some of the screenshots from Ad Astra, because I think it's quite telling, especially when it comes to Virgin Galactic. So I'm not sure I'm sharing here.
I'm trying to get
the screen
there too. I'm not doing very well. I have this up. I need to get that off. Okay, yeah. Thank you, by the way, Karen B, for saving me on that when I wasn't showing anything. What is going on? I cannot get to the right thing. Okay, I think... Oops, let me close this. Boop. And boom. And bloop. I don't want that on there. Okay, so I should be able to... Too many different things going on here. All right, there we go. There, we're better.
Do you see this character, Donald Sutherland, here?
Yeah.
Okay, so, this is one of the first things that happens in Ad Astra is that this character... Okay, the story is that Brad Pitt, who's...
Have you seen the movie, Austin?
Anybody seen it? Sorry?
No, I was asking if Austin's seen it.
I have not seen it.
You've not seen it, yeah.
Don't.
So the reason I kind of decided to see is because Virgin Galactic, I saw people going into the Virgin Galactic range, the area where they're doing that hoax that you're just talking about, and promoting this film there by driving this very excited woman in a Hummer. The kind of cars, the moon rover that they have in the film. So
I saw that video.
Virgin Galactic is somehow involved with this. Sorry,
I was eating. I saw that video that you showed of the girl driving around. She was very excited.
Right.
Oh, and it took place at the Virgin Galactic headquarters.
Yeah. And, at the facility where they do the, have the rocket or whatever.
What's it called? Spaceport USA, I think, or something like that.
Something like that in the middle of nowhere somewhere, where they don't get to be watched. And here, so Brad Pitt is this very amazing guy whose heart rate never goes over 80, even if he's falling off a cliff or whatever, if he's about to die. So they love him. He's kind of like a psychopath. And his dad disappeared. And this is one of the themes, and I'll show you in the next picture, but this is significant. His dad disappears in the end of the solar system somehow. He's the person who's been the furthest in the farthest in the solar system. So he's quite a pioneer, and everyone knows him and so on. And this guy, Donald Sutherland, comes up, and what he's doing here is that he's saying, well, I knew your dad from Purdue. And then he raises the ring here. And this ring is a sign of the connection with the
secret societies.
The secret societies, of course, he's covering one of his eyes. I'm not sure that is significant. And what you see is that what they're trying to do, and you see here, and this is Brad Pitt's father, the character's father, talking about God, a connection with God by going to the end of the solar system. And this is a kind of scam they see connected also in the book of Edgar Mitchell, that I mentioned before, because he's claiming he had to go to the moon, and then he felt spiritual there. He by going away and so on, and then they can come up with these fantastic narratives.
You know what's interesting is I did get somebody who sent me a Skype message that said that we are misunderstanding this movie. That really it's a movie meant to say that there's nothing out there. That Earth is the only thing important. That we need to bring focus back to the Earth. And I said, okay, well, it's still propaganda about all of space and the stupid moon, and now there's a Starbucks on the moon, and so it is very trying to tell people that this is what the future is. That there'll be bases on the moon, that there'll be Starbucks there, or Target. I don't remember what the exact store was that was on the moon, but just bringing that up because somebody did send me a Skype like, you're getting Ad Astra all wrong. Ad Astra means, I'm like, no, it means Ad Astra means to the stars.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be. It's a terrible movie, but and actually
maybe
boring.
There's a way of reading it, and the way that this person is saying that it really debunks. Well, in a sense, Brad Pitt all the time, he's very depressed about what he has to do. He doesn't like having to do any of the stuff. He's just seeking some sort of connection with his father, but then his father has this kind of connection with God. Before I fell asleep, right? But what I'm saying here is that they're trying to they're aware that we point out that their universe is really materialist and atheist universe. So they're trying to bring into it the science fiction, this connection with God, right, as a way to use some counter propaganda there and say that the cosmos, the solar system, the way they describe it, is a godly place. There is a creation there, right? Exactly what goes against some of the stuff we've been saying here tonight. Right, so he's saying, that there is a creation that they're trying to hide, but here they're trying to say that their model reveals, their model reveals a creation, right? Because this guy is traveling to the solar system conventionally with rockets and whatnot. So it's ending, and the ends, and he's finding God there somehow, right, farther from the Earth. And there's a lot of things about this, but Virgin Galactic is going to come up, and there's all these gadgets, this kind of transhumanist futurism that we see. This is more about his dad. There's some numbers here. You get your 322s with 6s and so on these things. Here he's falling from this kind of sky ladder. And not being phased at all. Here you have kind of a flat horizon on this, but this is when he goes and they say, "Oh, your heart doesn't beat. You're a psychopath. We love it." Like that's the military saying, and you're gonna go after your dad, and then they start throwing a bunch of space propaganda here. The animation rockets, and they're gonna try, and the moon has to look like the fake moon landings because that would somehow give it more credibility in the eyes of the public. So here, instead of making moon full of stars or anything and with multiple colors, they make it just as dull as the 1960s and 70s is what you got to kind of, reinstate that. But he's in some sort of quarantine, and you could read it as he's coming into the simulation, the mind control, the hypnotism.
Did you ever see
the whole thing?
Did you ever see when he spoke to the ISS astronauts as well?
Yeah. Well, when he mentioned that he was at JPL when they were controlling the Indian mission.
Right. He has that part. Yeah.
So how far in the future was this supposed to be?
Not much.
They call it near future, they say.
Okay, because I see we're still using rockets in the future, apparently.
Right, you're going to see how it goes here. I'm going to show you, of course, they have this Tycho base. Tycho Brahe, of course, was the astronomer probably assassinated by Kepler. As some people believe, some friends of Ito talked about this, that Kepler was found, Tycho Brahe was found having ingested a lot of mercury. And they say, that was by accident because he was an alchemist. But some people think he has been poisoned, and Kepler is possibly a suspect. Kepler's book, the Somnium, is kind of like talks about his mother being a witch and him being an orphan, and it's a really strange book. But here, what they're trying to is giving that impression that Austin was talking about in the near future. Yeah, you're gonna go on a rocket. And at the gates, just go to the spaceport and take a rocket. You have it.
And they call it Tycho Moon Base. Interesting.
Tycho Moon Base, yeah. Here you have the sort of diversity. There's women working there. There's an old Chinese woman. He's coming into the ship. There's just routine kind of stuff. A bunch of people traveling. He's traveling as a civilian, and there's the flight attendant and everything. And
the suits certainly don't look very. And again, is this a real launch or is this a CGI launch?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's of course it's for a movie, but people see NASA put this on the screen and they go, "Oh my goodness, look at NASA sending the rocket to space."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they make it look just as bad as NASA stuff, or exactly the same kind of stuff as SpaceX does.
Thank you for the super chat to Bad Puppet. Now, is this a real image of Earth or is this a movie image of Earth?
Yep. With your curvature, and there comes a rocket with the stages.
Now, is that a real picture of the Earth down below, or is that fake? Because it looks real. And if it looks real, therefore it must be real. And you can see that these rockets are falling off, that's during MECO or whatever. No, I'm just joking, but it's so stupid. It's like,
and now it's flying to the moon.
Yeah.
There you go. It's flying to the moon. They have this kind of, this actually is a corner of the screen. That's why it's small. They have that kind of moon there. And then the flight attendant gives him hot towels.
Right.
At some point, gives him different things, just trying to make it look like it's an everyday thing. And here you have it. Virgin's there.
Oh yeah, Virgin
right
Atlantic. They're on the moon as well. They're that's the base that's on the moon is Virgin Atlantic's next to the Starbucks or something.
Well, and you're making an interesting point. Like when you showed that picture of the rocket in front of the moon, there's still no stars or anything, so it co-aligns with the propaganda they show us.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, this camera wouldn't be able to see stars because of exposure time.
Whatever they do, whatever they want. The ISS, of course, makes exceptions for that. As we know, even city lights can be seen in some of the footage, but not in the other footage. Here, Virgin, of course, is paid to be in this film. This is obvious that he wouldn't put Virgin here. This is paid product placement. And of
it's
course,
funny that they wouldn't say Virgin Galactic,
factoids.
they would say Virgin Atlantic, because Virgin Atlantic is just an airline, right? But Virgin Galactic is supposedly the space bungee jumping enterprise. But anyway, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even, that brings it even closer home. There is a Virgin Atlantic, whatever air company, and it's just going to be like taking a plane. You can just go to the moon. There it is. They're arriving. And I think the dots might be the places where they're going to land. Here's the hot towels. I don't know. I thought about the hot towels. I don't know if it has any significance, like metaphorical significance. Why is it there? They make kind of a point out of it. And of course, it lands. It is kind of shitty CGI stuff that we're very familiar with. And of course, very dull.
Yeah, right there. There's
once they're there.
Go back one image.
Sorry?
Go back one. I thought that's one back more. There. Oh, there's Attico. Nope, you were there. Go back one forward.
This?
Yeah. See, there's Applebee's. I got it wrong. See, Applebee's. Nope. What does that say? There you go. Applebee's is to the right. What's that one?
This one's Virgin Atlantic?
Yeah, and then to the left, I saw this in movie in real time, so I couldn't read. What does that say? Japanese cuisine or something? I don't know what that says. But then go to the right and you'll see Applebee's. I think it's to the right of keep going. There you go. Applebee's is back there. Oh, boy. And I don't know what Attico is. Attico. I don't even know what that is. I'll have to look that up. And then what's back there?
Emirates. Flying Emirates.
Yeah. So those are your two airlines that can get you to this moon base very easy. Very cheap.
How is this place not going to get hit by something?
We don't worry about that. We don't worry about. We don't talk about that stuff.
And they have a robotic thing catching their landing capsule. Of course, this looks much better than what they had landing on the moon. At least it has some sort of structural integrity to it compared to the tent they had on the moon, right?
Yeah, the only thing I could find for Attico is there's an Attico. Oh, that is it. Because I can tell the logo's the same. Attico Mining Corporation. So they're
mining the
mining
moon.
resources. Of course, this is on Earth, not on the moon, but that's some propaganda for you. Attica will be moving and mining resources off the moon, just coming right around the corner, folks. To be here anytime.
And all jokes aside, they typically do show you what they're going to try to trick you with a few years in advance.
Oh, sure, because that's part of the whole conditioning, right? I mean, it's the smartest thing to do. You can't just. It's just like, have you heard all the? I mean, there's been so many talks about it, but if you look at old movies that were considered horror movies or were considered scary, nowadays they're nothing. But those were all precursors, right? You keep getting closer and closer to this gore and stuff that we have today. But back in the day, I mean, Poltergeist was considered very risque. If you go watch that movie today, it kind of looks like a joke. It's just, you have to slowly introduce these things to people. You can't just foist them with some crazy change to their world. They'll rebel. But by slowly allowing
The Exorcist, though, that looks pretty bad still. That kind of has stood the test of time. It's pretty horrible.
Okay, continue.
Well, here you see, this idea that you go to the moon to come together.
Where the world comes together, of course, because on the world wouldn't come together on the world.
Unless it's Antarctica Treaty.
Right. In Antarctica and the moon are the only places we can come together. Great. Oh, boy.
I'm just curious about this.
Surprised it doesn't say Space Force, to be honest.
Space Command.
I thought that Trump would have wanted them to...
look what's there right as you arrive as a tourist on the moon.
Right. What's that sign say? Make your pictures something with Andy the alien. Okay.
Taken with.
All right.
So
funny.
Yeah, it's kind of alien propaganda. It's so much fun. This is cool. The moon's gonna be just a party, and it really sucks. I mean, look at it.
Oh boy, there's even DHL and Subway. Yeah, would you really want to go here, where the military is patrolling everywhere, police everywhere, and what's the big difference? So you're on the moon. What is that guy's face is painted like the Joker back there? That's weird. Maybe.
Where?
I don't know. I see like somebody's white face. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong.
Here?
Straight over the guy. No, the guy on the right shoulder. The military guy that's closest to us. To the right a little bit. Guy? No. Sorry, one to the left. Right over his right shoulder. Isn't that guy's face painted white? No, maybe I'm seeing... Nope. The other guy. Middle guy. No. Over the right shoulder of the middle guy.
Right shoulder of the middle guy here somewhere.
No, keep going left. Right there. Isn't that guy's face painted
here.
white? I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong.
It looks like almost like a stormtrooper or something.
And they got Subway there, thank goodness. Got to get your dollar foot longs. And this is how you travel.
You travel through the holes on the ground. It's very attractive as well.
That's more Elon Musk propaganda, right? He's digging tunnels under L.A. and he's going to fix all of our traffic problems. Thank you, hero.
And here, I was just curious about what they were saying. They have this kind of intelligence situation. Of course, they have to have something happen in the film. He's going to have to cross the moon
right
on these buggies. And the moon has these kind of, already has kind of road signs.
It's so funny because if you look at this backdrop, the layer in the back and everything, it's exactly like
the fake stuff.
The fake stuff. It's identical.
Yeah, they do it in conjunction, right? They make sure it kind of fits their narrative. Look at this; it's so dull.
So yeah, gross. And why would anybody want to go here? Why would anybody want to travel? They love to convince people for some reason that the Earth is not enough. It's so stupid. Let's go to Mars, where it's completely inhospitable. There's nobody who could possibly live there. You can't grow anything. You can't breathe air. You got to live in a suit. You got to live in a dome. You got to live in a bubble. You can only grow potatoes, and yet they make it sound like people are like dying to go there. People are like, oh, go to Mars and die there. So stupid.
Yeah, it's insane. It's crazy. And no, here they tried to have this poetic moment where he's like driving through the moon and grabs the kind of lunar dust, and they making us grabbing God or something, or who knows what it is, and here he is, like, wow, it's so amazing, the experience, and there you have it.
Yeah, that's really what the movie's about. It's like a very emotional movie, and I think the whole the expanse of space is meant to be like the longing for his father. right? The longing for his father again is like the vastest space. That's why it's just a dumb movie. I think it's even poor science fiction. But anyway, go ahead.
And of course, emotion always clouds logic.
Right. So if you get emotionally involved in this movie, then you feel like, oh, he's missing his dad, and he's such a great, American hero to go to space and do all these things for the goodness of others. And anyway.
Yeah, and the thing is that, like, connection from the beginning, the ring, right? The secret society, his father, is an intergenerational thing. They've been in it from the beginning. He cannot leave it. He's locked into it. So it kind of tells the kind of MK Ultra narrative, right? The people who are brought into this and they cannot escape, and they're kind of like psychopaths, like the Brad Pitt character that doesn't feel any emotions actually, but he has emotions apparently for his father, and he stops taking the control. There's pills that they give up in space for controlling your emotions as well, and he avoids them, which is a cliche sort of in some of these films, because in THX 1138 that happens as well.
Would you even be able to, they're driving around, aren't they, like shooting guns at each other? Can you even shoot guns in space?
Yeah.
Is that even possible? I don't even know if that would even be possible.
It's going to start happening here. No. There's a leak on his suit, and he's able to not even get nervous and fix it pretty quickly with duct tape. And they're like, oh, there's a leak. And he's like, yeah, there's a leak. And his suit's like coming out in the vacuum. And he's like, oh, yeah, no problem. And he fixes it and still fights the guys. Everyone dies, I guess. He manages to escape. They have this kind of explosion that happens. This is strange because he gets his key to talk to his dad, and it says burn classified waste. Which is it's weird. It's almost like they're saying, they for me it could be read as, you kill, you burn, the people who are wasting the classified information, the classified waste. The people who are coming out and saying things, they get burned. But I don't know if that's what it means. That might be a stretch. Okay, then he goes to Mars. And here, of course, they make him look very much like the guy in the 2001 Space Odyssey, if you remember that.
Yeah, the suits don't look like they're very advanced. That's supposed to be.
Everything's
like digital,
here. You're gonna get this kind of retro feel. You got
right.
It, yeah.
It's like the Mercury astronauts or the first Apollo or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have these monitors here. Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be very retro. You're gonna see here. See all the stuff here, and the leather that they're using here. This kind of, what are these calculators for? It looks ridiculous. What is this? And it has all these kind of instructions, all this stuff, and the monitors all look like 1980s kind of video game, Atari kind of video games. Yeah, these helmets kind of look like what you're saying, the old school helmets. And here are the pills, and they kind of pop the pill, and the pill flies, and he grabs the pill, but he doesn't take it. And yeah, one thing that's very odd about the mission that his father is in is that it's called the Lima. But they call it the Lema, and they asked Aleister Crowley's religion is called the Telema, right? And I don't know if there's a connection, but there would be, because there is a direct connection. The people talking about aliens, that they communicating with aliens are going to come, and that whole thing, they're Crowley and the layman people, right? But that's pointing to that MK Ultra narrative, I think, at least. And here they show him as a child, and it's very weird. He goes back into his childhood and shows this strange looking child here. It doesn't seem very happy at all, which I thought it was odd. And more the retro, they're kind of ridiculous space stations in space, flying out in space, coming into the... here, I thought that this reminded me of some NASA iconography that shows a snake. For me, this is almost like snake eyes looking down on the audience and coming in. There's almost kind of like a snake skin round, coil around it as well. So I don't know if its design is it's odd. And then they come into this research station that's out in space. They find, and there's these baboons flying around, and they've gone totally wild, and they kill his friend. And what he does, and this is kind of interesting, he fights this crazed baboon that attacks him, and he explodes the baboon. Okay, like this is of course he puts Scotch tape over the face of his friend in an attempt to take his body out into the vacuum of space back to the main facility. I don't know why he uses that Scotch tape, of course. And then he locks the baboon inside the pressure compartment, and he unleashes the valve right for the pressure, so that he depressurizes the chamber, and the baboon explodes.
Pop goes the baboon.
Pop goes the balloon, but baboon, baboon, balloon. I wonder if they try to say something, make a connection there. Baboons and balloons for baboons.
So
but they when they tell us that you make a hole on the space station and they can cover it with duct tape or put a finger on it, while this guy depressurizes something and the thing immediately explodes, which is what should happen, right? Then we have a problem. You know what I'm saying?
And of course, they say they worked right alongside NASA during this whole movie creation.
Of course. And The Martian as well. The Martian is the same. I'm going to take a look. At some point, I'm going to take a look at the Charles Bolden again, because that really stayed in my memory, how he promoted The Martian. But yeah, look at this, like what the kind of thing they try to do. They throw the guy, I think they throwing the dead body out in space, right? Because this guy died, right? That he covers with the duct tape. And I was thinking, are they gonna, make us believe that he's gonna close this thing with duct tape and take him through space and make this guy survive? Because it looked really gory, like he lost his nose and everything. But I mean, I guess if you put duct tape on a body like this and you take it through the vacuum, the body should just fall apart as soon as you take it out in the vacuum, right? Its inner pressure is not going to be able to hold. It should explode out in the vacuum space.
I don't know. People believe that you can have tinfoil around the lunar lander and everything's fine.
Yeah, but at the same time, this thing explodes with the change of pressure, right? Okay. And then they pray here, of course. They bring always back this kind of religious undertones. Like they want to associate space with religion now, because they know that people don't like the atheist narrative. I think, at least.
That's a good point.
This is what they... Yeah, I think they're doing this on purpose.
Started to go that way a little bit, and they love the astronauts that come back, changed men, right?
Yeah.
Religious men then, and Buzz Aldrin, he took communion on the moon, which makes a lot of sense. The guy's a Freemason and is taking Catholic. You're not even allowed to be a Freemason if you're a Catholic, but who's counting?
Right. And well, he came back and became an alcoholic, as far as I know, in the past.
Yeah, Buzzin' Aldrin.
Buzzed Aldrin. Yeah, but here, when the body goes into space, look what happens. It becomes an angel flying in the light. Right? And they show the woman sleeping. So they play this they do this kind of iconography. What are you going to say, Austin? Sorry.
Oh, nothing. I was just listening. I mean, I think all this is
space crack.
Preposterous. So
yeah, it's just crazy, yeah. But and then there's a lot of this moping around of him, just kind of crying and moping, and I started to just fall asleep. I didn't know how much more I could take of this. They have this thing of land, this ridiculous thing where they land. There's one axis And this thing, it's just like a video game, and then how they land. So they associate also that kind of BS. And then Mars also really sucks. This looks like a...
I want to live there.
Yeah, who knows what this is? It looks like a catacombs, really.
It does.
It looks
terrible.
like a place you keep kind of, coffins. And then he starts talking to his dad, and I think this is probably close to where I couldn't take it anymore. After this, and he's like, and this moping around. I was falling asleep, and it was like too much for me today.
It gets so bad. And then they go to Neptune beyond that, which is just stupid. I mean, it doesn't even make sense if you understand how they say space works. It's just like you couldn't propel yourself to Neptune and be floating around in a craft. At least that's not how I understand orbits. I'm not saying I completely understand it, but I think I've always had problems with the guys like floating on the way to the moon. Shouldn't you be...
Right, they go out, like while the thing it's accelerating to the moon, right? To the moon, they go out and they do a spacewalk.
Right, it should be accelerating. They should be being pushed back in their seats, right? I mean, you're still accelerating unless you're just not, and then in which case you wouldn't need any fuel, in which case then it'd be very easy. They should have gone back to the moon 10 times. You don't even need fuel. You just blast yourself in that direction and you just float all the way there. You just get into the orbit of the moon. It's so dumb.
Yeah, that's kind of what they say they're doing. But if you look into the Werner von Braun film I was talking about, they have the astronauts inside the modules showing the helmets and stuff, like the helmets that they're going to go outside. It's like a piece of plastic.
Well, didn't Werner von Braun say that there had to be a rotating disc, like space station?
Right, that's what I was saying before. That they in order to make their gravity.
Right.
They have to do a centrifuge. They have to rotate something in order to create their gravity, but they never did that. That for whatever reason, it'll be much more difficult because you can simulate that inside an airplane. Be more difficult.
Excellent point.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and here, not that excellent. That is an excellent point. I think it is a good point, but yeah, but here, look, this is the thing. We know this film is real because 15,000 people worked on it. Sort of like they're, it's the excuse they give. There's thousands of engineers working to make the bolts and the different parts from the things. Therefore, and they tell you at the end of the film, this film it's trying to say it is space propaganda, fantasy that makes absolutely no sense, a total waste of time. But 15,000 jobs are involved, and people were happy that they made some money, and
people got paid.
They worked for it.
The economy grew. The economy grew. It's the same. It's the same reason why people should be very proud of the moon landings, because whether or not we actually went, it brought America together. It brought pride to Americans, and there's a lot of money that was spent that went throughout the country and helped the economy grow. And look at all the jobs that people have been able to hold and keep since the moon. I mean that's it's brought inspiration to children. And lesson plans to teachers.
Yeah, the Apollo effect, they call it.
Right.
They still call it. And remember the Israeli mission to the moon that failed as well. If you go to their website, they tell you they want to make the Apollo effect in Israel. They want to have the Apollo effect.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Which is boosting. It's a way they put money into this because they think it boosts nationalism and kind of national feeling that people are proud about their country and they work better, and that's the idea.
Right. All right. Well, we're at almost 3.5 hours. I think we've had a good show. Awesome. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to, or?
No, man. Just
I was wondering if have you seen much on? Did you look into it all in your path to FE concave Earth?
I've heard of it a little bit, but I saw an image, and in the image alone, I just stopped looking into it. To be honest.
Yeah. No, we're all kind of the same, and you've also because those are things I haven't heard you talk about yet. How about you've heard people talk about the Pac-Man sun?
I haven't.
Oh yeah, there's people out there who like the model where the Earth is flat, but it looks like a Mercator projection, and the sun in its path skips like Pac-Man. You know how Pac-Man, you can go out one side of the screen, you come back on the other side?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, these are some of the things we've had to been through over the last few years. Yeah, people spitting that one out. But again, who am I to knock people's journey? If that's on your path or if that's where your destination is, good for you. Doesn't work for me. It's not. It didn't suffice my questions. It didn't answer my questions at all. But yeah, so unplug from the box. You're going to keep doing those episodes, and I'm glad you're going to be live streaming. Seems like you enjoy it, which is good. It's part of the plan.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a little smoother as we go.
No, probably not. I've been doing it for 3 years. They still suck. So no, you get a little bit better, and sometimes you take a step back. But no, and for the most part, I'm sure it'll be easier. And maybe I'll try that OBS Streamlabs.
Yeah, I looked into it. It looks good. The website for it. I don't know. I'm gonna recommend for a friend because I have a friend that cannot do that because he cannot update because of audio plugins. He cannot update his system, so he cannot use OBS, and you really need it. So if this works, it'll be great.
Yeah. I mean, from what I can tell, it's basically the same thing, just a little simpler.
Okay, good. Then I'll check it out. I heard it's got some functions in there that might be helpful, and you know, OBS is good though. I mean, for a free program, and Streamlabs is free also, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure they have some little paid portion of it or something, but
what's their deal?
They must have something that you can pay for. I think that's, if I remember, I think I used to use Streamlabs. That's back when people probably don't even remember, but I used to have like all kinds of stuff on my live streams. I'd have a little astronaut in the corner with the moon flag, or the United States flag waving on the moon, and I'd have I don't know, when people subscribed, and I'd have Buzz Aldrin get hit by a chair, and I used to go a little too far. But that was using Streamlabs. There was a lot of little functions that it would let you connect with different things. So it would like alert you when you got a subscriber, or alert you when you got some sort of donation or something. But right. I got away from that. I think it detracted from what I was trying to say, and I don't know. I think people do a better job at me those kind of things, so I step back from that. Mm-hmm. But I think Streamlabs is good. I don't know what other things they have. I have noticed like there's a few other programs, and now I can't think of the name of it. I saw a couple people using. I think Karen B uses it. I don't know what it's called, Stream Kings, or I don't know, something like that. But basically, they have things like you can click on a chat message, and then it will like appear on the bottom of the screen. Have you seen people using that?
I have not.
Yeah, I've seen it. Where did I see it the other day?
Is it a web-based one?
Actually, I think I saw who used it. I can find it real quick because it was under Russian Vids did a video recently with, let's see here, Russian Vids, where are you at? Russian Vids, YouTube. Hold on. I'll find the name of it. YouTube, Russian Vids, YouTube, here we go. He did a video with, who was it? Oops. What's going on here? I hate when people do that. Russian Vids, here we go. But he used this little thing. Was it podcast with, Rick Hummer. Let me get there.
Yeah, okay. Someone is making a point here. I am Jedi 06. If a space movie production has a budget of $350 million, building a real lamb and sending it to the moon is doable, right? Saying that like some of these films have huge budgets, right?
So that means because movies spend a lot on movies, that means you can send a craft made out of tinfoil to the moon? I don't know. This one's called...
No, I think he's trying to say, look at how much money the films are spending.
Oh.
You know, so...
Oh, right.
So
Couldn't they
there's more than enough money to do it or something like this.
There should be. I mean, you know, especially... and that's a lot of money for a movie, isn't it? $350 million?
Yeah, things should be getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, right? Especially, you know, the most important technology that would, you know, which is what the dream they sell when they say, oh yeah, you know, routine access to space is just around the corner. No.
See, this is so it says powered by StreamYard. That's the name. I said Stream Kings or something, but StreamYard. But you can see Russian Vids is doing a interview with somebody, and it's kind of cool because when they're talking, you can see like each little person's thing light up. Like this guy's talking, so you could have both people on video, I think, and then also see how basically when somebody says something in the chat over here, they can click it, and then the chat comes up right here.
Some of the questions on where
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
The Brazilian guys were using StreamYard.
Okay.
I use it once, and you can. It's easy to set up, Not sure you can do multiple streaming though.
I don't think you can. That I saw, not for free. That's why I kind of
not for free. Yeah.
Right, because right now, just using all free stuff, I'm able to be on D Live at the same time as YouTube, which is nice, and it also allows me to do whatchamacallit, my Monday Night Raw show on my other channel, and doing all that for free, just using Restream.io. And I think
what I saw that was good about the StreamYard, Jaron, is that people can join in. They can, when you sharing screen is very easy, and it keeps people on the screen. It kind of does. It's quite nifty what it does with that kind of stuff that we do through Skype that you don't do through OBS, right? So it kind of incorporates that into it.
Right. Yeah,
that's one of the things
I would like to have something, because there's another thing that I used to like to do that I can't do, or at least I haven't figured out how to do yet, is I would like to take calls every once in a while. The problem with that is I can do that on my Monday night show, which we do. David and I do that the second hour. But I'm talking about like on my channel. The only problem with that is, since I usually have you guys on Skype, well, I can't give away a Skype number for people to call, because that won't work.
So you TFR, when you do TFR, you call in using Skype and they call to a number that gets onto your Skype kind of thing?
Yeah, it's all set up through the TFR software, so that's... I can't use that. But, I mean, whatever they use is fantastic. I don't even know how. They just have a call board, and the phone calls show up on the call board, and then you just click them to unmute them, and then you can talk to them. Even though David's on the call, and let's say that I had Owen Benjamin on at the same time, well, Owen Benjamin could be part of the Skype call, and we could still take calls. So it's actually pretty nice little software, whatever Chris Gio and Cherie Gio have set up. Just got a super chat from Michael Pomeroy, who said, have you all seen the end of the movie The Signal? The main character starts running and busts through the firmament, then the camera zooms to show our flat Earth.
Signal, I don't
even know what that movie is. Is that recent? Signal. I'll have to check. I don't know anything about that.
I'm not sure. It's a recent film, 2014, probably. William Eubank.
Official trailer of The Signal. Okay, oops, somebody sent me something here.
Yeah, I see here. I don't know this.
What did Mark send me here? What is this? United States Space Force, Department of the Air Force. And of course they have the vector symbol, right? And Starfleet Command, United Federation of the Planet. Whoa, it's identical. I gotta show you this. That's funny. Mark Sargent just sent me this image. Can you see it? Oh, wait, I'm not sharing my screen with you guys. Sorry. I forgot you were sharing. Let me go back. Now I lost it. Hold on. What's going on? What happened to our call? There we go. Share screens. All right. Now you should be able to see... Where are we at? I lost Mark Sargent. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yep.
So this is the United States Space Force moniker, whatever, and this is the Starfleet Command. Wow. Copy much? Jeez.
They're obviously getting us prepared for some pretty big space propaganda deception. So,
and it's funny that in 2019, if you go to that symbol, in Latin, almost reads like the Matrix.
Right.
That's too funny. Too funny. Yeah, so that's good stuff. And what else am I missing here? Nothing. All right. Well, anyway, I don't remember what I was talking about. So thank you, Michael. I will check out the movie The Signal. It's on my list here to see the ending of it. Hopefully I can find it somewhere where I can watch it, or at least get to the end. So it shows the main character running and busts through the firmament. Then the camera zooms out to show the flat Earth. The Signal, 2014. Looks like it's a space propaganda movie, yeah? Science fiction film.
They say it's an isolated friends drawn to an area by isolated area by computer genius, and then everything goes dark, and he's in a nightmare. It's like a dungeon or something like this. Don't know. Maybe it is space. It says sci-fi, so maybe it's just computer stuff.
Parabox Sunshine. What? A final pullback view reveals the whole ship with a parabolic sun shield on the top and an entire large alien city complete with skyscrapers pointing away from the alien sun. In the distance, another similar city ship can be seen.
Total space shit.
Well, I'll check it out. Let's see what it is. All right. So yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk to anybody who's down there at the Salt Flats, but good luck to them. Hopefully everything is going well. And
have you heard anything?
Just a couple things. I think you probably are in the same groups I am that showed some laser flashes. But again, I think that they said they didn't get any mirror flashes from 35 miles. But they still have all of today and are going to be doing more. But they did get laser flashes. I think that they all, just like me, see the mirror flashes as definite, it's really strong evidence versus laser. But I still think the lasers are showing what we think they show. Of course, the Glober argument is always, how do you know you're not seeing the spot over the curve? But, so, I mean, at least with mirror flashes, that's not even physically possible. With a...
Isn't Ben did a mirror flash? He was pretty far in Utah with his wife, didn't he? He was right at the water as well.
Yeah, well, that was like 7 miles, but they're going to be doing further than that at Bear Lake. So they still have that going on, but yeah, it should be interesting.
And it's supposed to be frozen as well, so that should help.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if it's true. I don't know. Okay, more stuff's coming in here. You all trying to get your things in before the end of the show? Let's see who's sending me something.
It's David.
What did he send me? Oh, is it in the lounge? Let's see.
I think it's David sending a...
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
did he change it? Oh, no, he just...
That's how I know, and that's how I know Dave's not watching the show. How dare you, Dave? We just talked about that. Dave's like, Sharon, show this. I'm not watching the show. Thank you. We now know that. No, it's good. Anyway, Austin, any final words before we head out or where people can find you? And I saw that you are going to start doing on D Live, possibly?
Yeah.
Cool.
If I can figure out how to simultaneously do it, but definitely that's the backup plan, because we know how the grabblers act. So, I'll just probably try to go live.
You can see my screen right now, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just show you real quick. Nobody else needs to see, but I'm using this thing called right here. It's restream.io. And basically you just add a channel and add a channel. So I basically add a channel, Jeranism events, and there's my Jeranism, and then add a channel, D Live. And, whoa, the weird thing is, why does it say offline?
It's on.
Are we?
It does say offline. It's weird.
Okay.
But, so that interacts with the OBS.
Yeah, so see right here the stream settings. I can copy this stream key and put it into my OBS settings. The weird thing is, though, usually it'll tell me how many people are watching live, and this usually doesn't say offline. It's live, this is working, and this is working. That's weird. It doesn't show. But basically, you go to Restream, you sign up, and then you could just add a channel, and then add your YouTube channel, then add a channel, add your D-Live channel, and then if they're both turned on, and you use this stream key, then when you go live on OBS, it publishes it to both. And usually
at the same time.
I have no idea why it shows.
Yeah, and also you can, if you do the chat app, it gives you the chat from all the platforms. You can have many, you can have 10, I guess, but it combines all the chats in one place, which is really cool.
Oh, wow. I forgot we did get one more super chat that says, please address the 2-hour... Oh. What? Search the signal going Super Saiyan God. What? I'm supposed to
search the signal going Super Saiyan.
I'll search that here and see if I find anything that's going on here. Maybe there's a signal going Super Saiyan God. Okay, I'm going to watch this video, but I'm not going to show people yet just because I don't want to get copyright. Oops, no sound. So this must be the end of it. Let me see.
Transhumanist kind of thing, turning into a machine.
He's definitely Super Saiyan, right?
And again, people, if they want to watch what we're watching, they can just search the signal going Super Saiyan God. So this is, he's going to run here and break through some firmament. Go, 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 go. Oh! He's going to break through the dome? I thought you said firmament, but let's see.
Yeah, something like this. He's going to fly.
Oh, speed of light almost.
Oh, that's a dome.
Okay.
Oh, he's capped out in a dome, a fake dome, or fake reality or something. I don't know.
And then there's supposed to be some view of flat Earth after. As soon as we get to the one scene, I'll show people, as long as I can pause it and not show any video. So what? Now he's
looking back. It is a simulation. Pyramid. Numbers. What?
Huh.
Floating in space.
Floating in space, though. I'll show people that image.
With a flat horizon.
That is pretty wild, though.
Yeah. So I don't fully understand it because I didn't see the movie or what's really going on, but that's the scene here at the end where he's kind of pulled back, and like Michael said, that the showing the flat Earth rising in space, and I'm not sure what all this is underneath here or where he. Interesting, very interesting. I'll have to check out the movie. I don't know, and then something's upside down underneath it. What is that? Huh. Don't know. All right, we'll have to check that out. Thank you for that. So then Dan Morris reminded me we didn't talk about, he said, please address the 2-hour time anomaly in sunrise-sunset time near Australia. Where is it most noticeable using stellarium or similar? I'm not really sure about, what does he mean by 2-hour time anomaly, unless he's talking about like Nathan Oakley and them when they did the tracking the sun. They came up with some anomalies outside of Australia, kind of almost at the timeline, right? The
where it sets and where it rises not being exactly west or something like this.
Oh, I don't think he's talking about that. That we've talked about ad nauseum, basically why it appears to set south of west. You mean when it's going north of west? So I don't know if he's talking about that. I mean, clearly to me. At least everything I've seen shows that when there's sunrise or sunset, they happen very quickly in the south, meaning that as soon as the sun sets, goes too far for you to see, you can call it behind the horizon, whatever you want to call it, that night comes very fast. And here in the north, we don't get that same thing. When the sun sets, it's still light out for a while. It can be light out for an hour after the sun sets, and in the south, all the videos I've seen, it happens in like 10 minutes. And then same thing with the sunrise. It's very dark, and then it becomes light as soon as the sun appears.
Quickly. Not way before the sun shows up.
Right. Whereas here in the north, we get daylight well before the sun, at least an hour or at least 45 minutes or something. And I think that has to do with the sun having to cover more distance in the outside than it does in the inside. I heard Dave Weiss describe it the other day where if you live in the north, you live on the inside of that sun path, right? And to live in Australia is much different because you actually live on the outside of the sun path, which is drastically different. Now, I've never been there, so I can't say that it feels different or seems different, but everything I've heard from people who do live there say it is very different, or people who have been there and come back, or people who have lived there and come to the north. They say it's quite different.
Well, in Brazil, it should be also different. And I never paid that much attention on this, but I'll ask some people to watch for it just to see. I'm just going to ask just out of curiosity if when the sun comes up, it comes really fast. But I remember that the light comes up really when the sun is almost coming out. And here, at least here I am right now, for sure, now that I look into these things, pay attention, way before the sun comes up, you have light.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he's talking about where is it most noticeable using stellarium or similar. I'll have to ask around and see where people have talked about that. I'm not even sure. I guess Nathan would be the best person to start with and talk about that, because I'm not sure what I've seen. The other thing I've seen is just, and this is what I was talking about, I need to go down there or something, is I've asked people to try and do time lapses of the sunrise or sunset in Australia, but to start their time lapse very early before the sunrise or to end it very late after the sunrise. Like if you go looking online for sunrise, sunset in Australia, you'll find them. But the problem with them is you'll see the sunset and then the video ends, right? Because who's really filming the activity after what you're trying to see? Same thing with a sunrise. Usually if people are going to film a sunrise and they look at their app and it says the sunrise is at 6 o'clock, well, then maybe they go out at 5:45 and set up their camera and then film the 6 o'clock sunrise. What I need to see, or what I think would be really helpful, is to have somebody go out at 3 a.m. and set up their camera
rest of it.
to see before it, or to if the sun sets at 6:30 p.m. to set it up at 6:15 and watch it set and then watch the remaining 2.5 hours after that. Because I do think I've seen videos that seems to show the sun coming back to the right, which would be hugely detrimental to globe proponents. Because
I remember the Dwayne Kellum stuff that he sends the balloons late at night and they catch the sun on the distance.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's amazing that you can see the sun coming from so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are hard to tell whether there's any change in size, but I think there would be if we could see that. But again, so sorry I didn't answer that question real well, but the 2-hour time, I will definitely ask people around, David and Mark, see if anybody knows what you're exactly talking about. What did you say earlier, just to make sure I'm not missing? You said, please discuss the anomaly that exists with sunrise sunset time near Australia. You have touched on this before. I'd like to hear whatever you could share so I can research myself. Yeah, I don't know about an anomaly with the time, unless you're talking about when you said you've touched on this before. Usually what I've touched on before is the direction of the sunrise sunset. And I've showed videos before from Australia where I've caught the end of a sunrise sunset, and it certainly looks like the sun is coming back. Almost like it's going too far to see, but then it starts roping back to the right, which would be the case on a flat Earth if it was anyway laid out like the AE map. But I don't think the AE map's right. I don't think any map is right. I think it's a realm that we live in, and who knows what the creator could put in the sky, and what could what, I don't know if you want to call it trickery, or if you want to call it magnificence, or whatever you want to call it. What can be done that would with that optics is amazing, especially looking through an atmosphere at a focal point of light that I don't even think is a physical light. So, it really leads to a lot that it could be, and not a lot of answers, but I don't feel like we need answers to everything. I'm not one of those people that, I said, that's what school does. School tells you just sit in your chair and some lady will give you all the answers, and you just need to be able to regurgitate them and answer multiple choice questions, and you'll be fine in life. But I think that a lot of what's going on has been stolen from us. A lot of spirituality has been hidden from us. And, I don't want to be like that said, the intelligent people or people who think they're intelligent won't go looking for answers to things they know the answers to. So for me, I'd rather pretend like I don't have any answers and just look. That's all I can, that's all I can basically do. Because all I want is authenticity. All I want is honesty. All I want is truth. That's all I ask of anybody is, and once that's gone, then I don't really feel like, there's a lot left. But if there is authenticity and honesty and truth, and you can operate in that sector, then all of a sudden it's interesting to hear other people's opinions, and it's interesting to hear other people's shows, and I want to listen to Russian vids talk, and I want to listen to Crow 777, and I want to listen to Owen, and I want to listen to Marty Leeds, and Austin, and all these guys that are giving me their honest opinions, their honest points of view. When you listen to somebody regurgitate globe propaganda or something that they read in a physics book, that to me is not them being honest or authentic. That's just basically reading from a script. When I listen to Austin, I know he's not reading from a script. When I listen to Crow, when I listen to any of these other guys, Rodrigo or anybody, these guys aren't reading from a script. They're telling me how they really feel, their honest opinions, and I think that goes far further than anything else we could ask. So anyway, thank you very much. Trobe said, keep up the good work, buddy. Glad you guys enjoy the Friday Lounge, and I'm enjoying it. But so Austin, I know I got away from that, but anything that you want to share, or nope, but we'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah. No, I'll probably go live a little later tonight. I try to go live pretty regularly on my channel, and that's about it. Yeah, and then
Sweet.
we'll link back up Sunday.
Great. Yeah, and then if everybody wants to follow Austin, his link is the first one, I think, in my description. So just scroll down, and you can also search for Witsit Gets It. But become a subscriber over there. He's live streaming now, so give him some love. And last but not least, we have Rodrigo. Rodrigo, any final words or anything going on? And of course, you can support Rodrigo at Patreon, patreon.com/anthropology. But go ahead, final words.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a little newsletter for people on my Patreon that I'm gonna release for anybody. But I'm gonna first, because people are supporting me a little bit. There's only like 8 patrons there, but it's enough for me to feel like I need to do something a little bit more than videos, because videos take a long time, and I've been collecting lots of thoughts on the things that have been happening. And I think, should I just let it go down the drain or accumulate? And I should do something with it. And, I got some publishing software that I really enjoy using and setting these things up. So I'm going to do that. Talk about some of the things we've been talking about, and have some links in there, and just to keep kind of a diary of what's going on. And that will be in there. And then I'm going to roll it out and have it out there for people who want to print it and have a free copy of it in PDF. I just want to kind of document some of the things that are happening.
That's a good idea.
And just have a practice of doing this and see if I can keep it up that way. And there's a bunch of things that I still have to do that I'm finishing. So like, it's been busy, but it's good. And yeah, it's fine. Thank you so much for having me here.
Anytime.
Letting me ramble on.
No, it's great.
And Austin, for your patience and everything.
Yeah, Austin, it was great having you. Thanks for jumping on. You're welcome anytime you want. And hopefully next week we get maybe some Eero info, maybe some Bob, see what Bob's going on, see what everybody's doing. But yeah, check out Raw. This past Monday we had Raw. We had Dave Weiss back after a little absence, so that was a good show. We took some calls. I also had Nathan Thompson on the show, and yeah, people should check out his.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out, Nathan Thompson.
I want to see. You talk about the event, right? Of course.
You mean, yeah, well, the debate, and then also we talk about his video where he goes to the church and is talking to the pastor. Have you seen that one?
No.
Oh yeah, check out his channel. He's got, or actually, I think it was on Dave Weiss' channel where he kind of shortened it up. But basically, yeah, he went and was confronting a pastor, not confronting, but just asking questions about the Bible and what it says about cosmology and how it says, and the guy's like, no, we're on a ball and we're flying through space, and he's like, yeah, but your Bible doesn't say that. Your Bible says that we're stationary 120 times. Like, how many times do you need it to say something to you? And it's so funny. I've always asked the same question. I just have never understood how, if you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible, then I don't understand how you can ever believe that the earth moves at all. Clearly the book says that it doesn't, and
it kind of makes a point made several times.
Yeah, so it says it over and over and over again. So anybody, those people have just what I call cucked to science. If that's, and again, stand behind your beliefs. That's what's great. That's why I like Christians like Nathan Thompson or Rob Skiba. These guys stand behind the book, right? I mean, they at least if you're going to believe in the Bible and you're going to be a Christian, then at least stand behind the words in the book and say, no, these are the words of God. If that's what your belief is. Again, I'm not out to tell anybody what their belief should or shouldn't be. Not out to say, well, I don't believe what you believe, so get out of here. We have different beliefs on that. No, but just stand behind your belief, and at least they do that. So it's a good video. But anyway, we talk about that on the show. So check that out. That was from Monday. And we've got, of course, Glowbusters coming up in a day or 2 days or whatever on Sunday, 12 noon, same time as this show on the Glowbusters
Saturday
channel.
Here already, 1 a.m.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, tomorrow. There. See, I was talking to you. That's good. But thanks, everybody, for joining. If you want to support this show, which I always appreciate, join the almost 200 people at patreon.com/jeranism. That would be amazing. I would love that. But really appreciate everybody who's there. They help keep this channel going. They help make everything in my life much easier. And I appreciate them. I can't say how much. It is too much. And then also I've got my P.O. box if you want to send anything. Oh, by the way, I guess I'll leave with what did I do with my envelope here? Oops, I did just have it here. Somebody sent me a... What did I do? Hold on 1 second. Oh, there it is. I'll read this real quick. This is a letter that I got from Carissa. Thank you very much, Carissa, for the letter. Very nice. And for the gift. Very kind of you. Thank you. And she said that she's been writing in a writing class, and she said that she had come up with this poem, so I'll just read it real quick. But she says, in our lifetime on this earth, we've had a beautiful place, but there are those who have taken over and by theories have removed its grace. I look forward to the day when truth once more will reign. Then we can lay to rest this godless theory called the Big Bang. Something out of nothing, how absurd, even crazy too. Humanity is a creation, and this place was made for you. So I thought that was very cute. Thank you, Carissa, for the letter. Very kind of you. And Owen sent me a few pieces of silver. So thank you very much, Owen. I appreciate that as well. Jeranism, P.O. Box 3044, Merced, California 95344, if you want to mail me something. And that would be it. So I remind you guys to do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till Sunday, guys, this has been Jeranism and Austin and Rodrigo. Peace.
Peace, guys.